A city street flashes with blinding light. A truck barrels forward, out of control. Onlookers gasp as the terrible sound of an impact rips through the air. This is the end for Kanzaki Yuki, a perfectly ordinary 33-year-old man. His consciousness fades into black, and he cannot believe his life is over. Just like that. The young woman he saved weeps in disbelief, realizing he died so that she could live. His life flashes before him, remembering how he helped his father raise his younger siblings after their mother passed away. He fondly recalls watching his brother find success in soccer and his sister become a brilliant pianist. The memory of them thanking him fills his heart, and he knows that despite its shortness, he lived a truly fulfilling life. Suddenly, a divine being with a leafy crown appears before him, announcing that he has been chosen for something special. His eyes snap open in shock as he sees the tiny figure's feet dangling just above his face. He finds himself sitting in a shimmering, ethereal void and asks the being who they are, wondering if this means he truly died. The little god cheerfully confirms his death. He stands, realizing this endless, sparkling realm must be the space of a god. The god spreads their arms wide, congratulating him for his selfless act and offering him a grand reward: rebirth in another world. He quickly puts the pieces together, asking if this means he is going to be reincarnated. The god is impressed by how fast he understands. The deity explains that because he died saving a stranger, he will be reborn with incredible power and many advantages. But Yuki feels a bit suspicious of the offer. With a grand gesture, the god offers to grant him any special ability his heart desires. They suggest he could become a great hero, blessed with amazing powers and adored by all, but he remains silent, deep in thought. To the god's complete shock, Yuki turns away and politely refuses the incredible offer. He explains that he has no need for special powers, wanting only to live a simple, honest life filled with laughter, just as he did with his beloved siblings. The little god is floored by his humility, dramatically declaring him far too modest. After a moment of thought, the god decides that sending him off with nothing would be unfair. They smile brightly, announcing their gift: he will be granted a very strong body. Yuki seems a bit confused by the simple gift, but accepts it nonetheless. The god then summons a bizarre, cannon-like device, announcing that the coordinates are set and the countdown to his new life has begun. As the cannon aims directly at him, the god explains that while he'll understand the new world's language, his destination and age are completely random. He cries out in panic, realizing he's about to be shot into his new life. A targeting reticle locks onto his terrified face as the cannon powers up. With a blinding flash of energy, the god waves a final farewell, telling him that any other powers he gets will be a surprise to discover on his own. His soul is flung through a swirling, chaotic vortex as he wonders what virtue points from his past life might mean. His consciousness arrives in a vast, desolate landscape of snow-covered mountains. In a gentle flash of light, a tiny baby, wrapped in cloth, materializes in the middle of the blizzard. He opens his eyes, now a small child, and looks around with a worried and confused expression. He realizes he has been reborn on a freezing mountain and fears he will die from the cold, just as the god had warned might happen. He looks down at his bare feet touching the snow, yet he feels strangely fine. This must be it. The strong body the god promised him is protecting him from the deadly cold. He begins to walk, hoping to find shelter, but a huge, monstrous foot suddenly steps into view. He turns his head, his eyes widening with a mix of curiosity and dread. A pack of enormous white wolves with glowing gems on their foreheads emerges from the snow, their presence menacing. He begins to cry, terrified at the thought of being eaten alive just moments after being born into this new world. He shuts his eyes, bracing for the worst, when suddenly a heavy boot stomps into the snow beside him. In a flash of impossible speed, a cloaked figure leaps directly into the wolf pack. The figure, a young warrior with a fierce gaze, utters a single powerful word, demanding the beasts be gone. Yuki stares in absolute astonishment at the unbelievable scene unfolding before him. The mysterious warrior stands alone, having sent the entire pack fleeing in an instant. He is stunned by the incredible strength of the people in this world. The stranger turns and calls out to him, and he flinches in fear, realizing just how dangerous this new world truly is. As the warrior approaches, his tiny heart hammers in his chest. Is this another threat, or his only hope for survival? The stranger kneels down, their voice surprisingly gentle, and asks if he is all right. He looks up, confused by the kindness from someone who was so ferocious just moments ago. The warrior offers a warm, reassuring smile, telling him that he doesn't have to worry anymore. He is amazed that such power and kindness can exist in one person. She gently scoops him up, wrapping him in her warm cloak and wondering why a child is all alone in such a place. He finally feels a wave of relief, thinking that the people here might be kind after all. She knows she cannot leave him here to die, so she begins to walk through the blinding snow. After a moment of hesitation, she sighs, having decided where to take him. Holding him close for warmth, she tells the small child she is taking him to that place. They arrive at a breathtaking sight, a cozy house nestled in a magical forest teeming with life and flowers. As she carries him through the beautiful garden, he wonders if this is paradise. The warrior calls out a name, Olympia! From the flowers emerges a beautiful, fairy-like woman with long, flowing hair who flies towards them with a cheerful greeting. She floats down, her eyes sparkling with delight as she sees the small child exclaiming what an adorable little traveler he is. He is mesmerized by her otherworldly beauty, wondering if she is even human. His rescuer, Lucy, asks what Olympia means by calling the child a traveler. The spirit, Olympia, explains that sometimes people from distant worlds appear here, and they are known by that name. Lucy looks down at him with newfound understanding, realizing this must be why he was abandoned on that cold mountain. Olympia smiles sweetly and asks the little boy for his name. He tries to answer, but in his toddler's body, he can only stammer out, Zaki Yuki. He gets frustrated, realizing he can't even speak properly in this new form. But Olympia isn't bothered by his fumbling words, simply telling him he has a lovely name. Olympia introduces herself as a spirit, and his rescuer as Lucy, a hunter. Looking at these two kind souls, his heart is filled with a warmth he can't express, and he struggles to thank them for saving his life. He remembers that he is only about 3 years old now and feels helpless to properly convey his gratitude. Olympia gently points out that he has nowhere to live, a fact he hadn't even considered. Her face lights up with a brilliant idea, and she claps her hands together, having made a decision. She pulls him into a tight hug, declaring that this child is too cute to be left alone and that they will raise him together. Lucy watches this display with a completely deadpan and unimpressed expression. As Olympia floats with him in her arms, Lucy demands to know how she came to such a wild conclusion. Olympia simply replies that the child has no parents in this world. She continues to explain that ever since the Demon King's defeat, the world has been corrupted by a dark energy called miasma. She points at the powerful hunter, insisting that it is much safer for the child to stay here with them. Cradled in her arms, he thinks about Lucy's incredible power and knows that if they abandoned him, he would die instantly. Lucy silently contemplates the situation, her expression unreadable. She knows what will happen to him if they turn him away. Her mind is made up. A gentle smile graces her lips as she agrees, saying she will do it for the child's sake. Yuki and Olympia look towards her, their faces filled with hope and relief. Olympia is thrilled, telling Lucy that this kindness is just like her, and she joyfully lifts the happy boy into the air. She smiles down at him, promising that he doesn't have to worry anymore. He has a home here with them. As her hand gently touches his cheek, he beams with pure joy, feeling so grateful to have met these two wonderful people. Olympia decides the first thing they must do is get the hungry little boy some food. As she carries him inside, he reflects that in his previous life, he was always the one taking care of others and never leaned on anyone. But now, sitting at a warm table as his new family cares for him, he feels a sense of belonging he's never known. He makes a silent vow to himself that someday he will find a way to repay their incredible kindness. In what feels like the blink of an eye, a year full of happiness passes. A slightly older Yuki waves goodbye to Olympia, now calling her Mom, as he heads out to play for the day. He spends his days full of energy, tumbling and exploring the rocky hills around his home. He crouches down, marveling at how steadily he is growing in this new life. Standing on a cliff's edge, he throws his arms up in delight, amazed that his 4-year-old body can move with such strength and agility. He looks out at the vast mountains, reminding himself that he cannot rely on his new mothers forever and must continue to train. As he practices climbing, his foot slips, and he cries out as he begins to fall. But a firm hand suddenly grabs the back of his shirt, stopping him just in time. It's Lucy, his mother. She tells him that Olympia was worried sick about him. He has come to call Olympia his mom, and the more stern Lucy, his mother. She looks at him with a serious gaze, demanding to know why he was attempting something so dangerous. He looks up at her with innocent, determined eyes and explains that he simply wanted to see what was beyond their home. He knows their peaceful life is only possible because of Olympia's magical barrier, which protects them from the Mia and monsters outside. Standing beside his mother, he looks out at the wild world and expresses his deep desire to understand the place he now calls home. Lucy's expression softens as she looks down at the earnest and curious boy. A rare smile touches her lips as she decides that, just for today, she will show him. In one swift movement, she scoops him into her arms and he gasps in surprise. She leaps into the air, moving with blinding speed across the mountainside. They scale the impossible cliffs in a blur of motion. He is in complete awe of his mother's amazing power. They finally land on a high, desolate peak. The journey was so fast it has left him with swirling, dizzy eyes. As his vision clears, his eyes widen in horror at the sight that greets him. Lucy explains that this barren, lifeless peak was once known as the Holy Mountain, Athos, a place brimming with spirit power, but now it is a dark, twisted landscape where demonic creatures fly overhead. It is now known only as the Demon Mountain. He whispers the terrible name, his heart aching at the corruption of this once sacred place. Lucy shows him a vision of how it used to be, a vibrant forest where Olympia sat peacefully among gentle animals. This was the place she loved. The sadness on Lucy's face is plain to see, and Yuki understands the deep pain she feels for this ruined land and for Olympia. An idea strikes him with the force of a lightning bolt. This is how he can repay them. He turns to Lucy, his eyes shining with a newfound purpose, and asks if it would make her and Olympia happy if he restored this mountain to its former glory. Lucy is momentarily stunned speechless by his bold and heartfelt declaration. A warm, genuine smile spreads across her face as she softly answers, "Yes." She looks at him with pride, telling him that while she doesn't know how he'll do it, she believes he just might be capable of such a feat. For the first time in either of his lives, he feels like he has a true dream for the future. They stand together, looking out at the daunting task ahead, but he is filled with unwavering determination. He clenches his fists and declares his new goal to the world. He will restore this mountain to its beautiful form, but he knows that before he can save a mountain, he must first become strong enough to survive in its harsh world. Deep within the corrupted forest, a pack of miasma-tainted wolves run with unnatural speed. A powerful impact sends a shockwave through the trees. A massive creature slams against Olympia's protective barrier, causing it to crackle with energy. The entire barrier shudders violently from the repeated assaults. Back at the house, Olympia looks up, sensing the grave danger at their doorstep. The alpha of the ice wolf pack lets out a chilling howl, its dark energy weakening the holy shield. Unaware of the threat, Yuki is outside, cheerfully practicing with his small wooden sword. Olympia calls out from the doorway, announcing that it's time for dinner. Inside, a warm meal awaits the small, happy family. Over dinner, Lucy compliments his improving skills. He thanks his master, his heart full, now that he has a goal to strive for. His dream is clear in his mind, to restore the beautiful mountain of Athos. He knows this is the only way he can truly repay the two mothers who gave him a new life. And to do that, he realizes he must find a way to eliminate the source of the world's corruption, the miasma itself. He asks Lucy how it can be stopped, and she explains that simply fighting monsters is not a real solution. She describes a strange creature, a fast-moving slime monster with an ice core. She tells him it's said that defeating 10 of them in a single night could weaken the miasma. He grins with determination, boldly declaring that he will do his best. Lucy smirks, telling him that as her disciple, she expects nothing less. She pats his head, reminding him that while he is safe here, the outside world is unforgiving, and he must become as strong as her to survive. And so, he dedicates himself to training under Lucy's watchful eye every single day. Olympia flies around Lucy in a panic, protesting that her training methods are far too strict for such a little boy. She reminds Lucy that he got a big scrape just yesterday, but the hunter insists she is matching his training to his level. Yuki proudly shows off his leg, which is already completely healed. "It's okay," he says, with a bright smile. His mothers are amazed by his rapid recovery, with Lucy simply remarking that kids heal fast. He realizes this incredible healing ability must be another one of the goddess's blessings. He smiles at his mom, telling her not to worry about him. But Olympia is still concerned, explaining that a pack of ice wolves has settled nearby, and she's terrified he might wander too close to the barrier's edge. Lucy's expression turns serious. She knows that as the miasma thickens, the barrier's power weakens, making the threat very real. Yuki listens intently, understanding the gravity of the situation. After dinner, Lucy stands, announcing that she is going to patrol the area outside the barrier. Olympia wishes her luck, trusting her to keep their family safe. Just as Lucy turns to leave, she feels a small tug on her cloak. She looks down to find Yuki looking up at her with pleading, sparkling eyes, asking if he can come with her. She gently refuses, telling him it is far too dangerous for him to face real combat against the ice wolves. She gives him his own task, to continue his training within the safety of the barrier. He looks down, disappointed but obedient. He runs outside to begin his duties, waving cheerfully as Olympia reminds him not to go outside the barrier. As he trains, he thinks about how the barrel's stronger, more corrupted beings. However, he also knows that weaker beasts with less miasma are sometimes able to slip through. Olympia had once explained that if the barrier blocked everything, then even humans and harmless animals wouldn't be able to enter. He easily dispatches a small monster that had gotten inside, but his curiosity about the world outside is overwhelming. He knows he's disobeying, but he can't stop himself from running towards the edge of the barrier, quietly apologizing to his master. He is, after all, a child overflowing with curiosity, and he simply can't help it. He peeks out from behind a large rock and sees his master in the distance, facing something enormous. His eyes widen in absolute disbelief at the sight. A majestic, monstrously large white wolf stands before Lucy, its powerful aura radiating pure danger. It's an ice wolf, but its size is unlike anything he has ever seen or imagined. He remembers their conversation about the weakening barrier and wonders if this incredible creature is the cause. Lucy's face is a mask of cold fury as she prepares to confront the beast. She issues a powerful command, telling the lesser wolves that this is no place for them and to be gone. The smaller wolves cower before her overwhelming presence and begin to flee. He watches, confused. She is warning them away, not attacking. Lucy realizes the massive wolf is different from the rest and lunges forward to meet the true threat. The beast defiantly slams its paw into the frozen ground, refusing to back down. It rears up, letting out a ferocious roar as it swipes at her with its massive claws. She moves like a phantom, easily ducking under the deadly attack. In a blur of motion, she dashes past the beast, her dagger drawn. With a single precise strike, she brings the colossal wolf crashing to the ground. Yuki covers his mouth, gasping in a mixture of terror and awe at her incredible power. She stands over the fallen beast, not to deliver a final blow, but to tell it that its master, the Demon King, is gone. It has no reason to fight anymore. She orders it to go home quietly, her voice echoing with authority. The giant wolf retreats, and he realizes it was the Demon King's own pet. The world outside is far more terrifying than he ever knew. But as he watches the great beast leave, his fear gives way to an unexpected feeling of sadness. The magnificent creature stands alone in the desolate landscape, looking utterly lost. He can see a deep, lonely sorrow in its eyes now that its purpose is gone. A pang of empathy strikes his heart, and he clutches his chest. He steps out from his hiding place and gently calls out to the lonely wolf. With pure compassion in his voice, he asks if it is all alone. He opens his small bag and offers the beast his own food and water. He carefully lays out the offering on a cloth on the ground. The wolf approaches cautiously, sniffing the food with uncertainty. Yuki offers a kind and reassuring smile, promising that there is no poison in it. The wolf takes a tentative bite and then begins to eat. Yuki watches, overjoyed. As it eats, the wolf's eyes suddenly widen in surprise. It begins to wag its massive tail back and forth with pure, dog-like joy. A healthy, magical glow returns to its fur, and it seems to grow stronger and happier with every bite. He smiles, realizing this terrifying beast is surprisingly gentle and almost human. He's so glad that the creature is feeling better. He bravely reaches out and gently pets the great wolf's soft white fur. He tells the wolf it feels different from other beasts and that it reminds him of a dog he once knew but couldn't keep. He recalls a sad memory from his past life, standing in the rain, watching a small abandoned puppy shivering in a box. He leans against the wolf's warm body, confessing the regret he still carries for being unable to save that lonely dog. Lost in thought, Yuki remembers his previous life again, a small boy watching a lonely puppy in the rain. He hopes with all his heart that someone kind found the puppy and gave it a good home. He nuzzles into the giant wolf's soft fur and quietly admits that if he had been able to take that puppy home, he had a name he wanted to give it. The great wolf's ears twitch, as if it heard and understood his quiet words. A brilliant idea pops into Yuki's head. "That's it," he says, a determined look on his face. He stands before the wolf with a huge, happy smile and declares, "From now on, you're Pochi." The wolf seems to understand and lets out a joyful woof. Suddenly, a strange notification appears in the air glowing with light. It says a new skill has been learned, universal translation and taming. A screen appears in front of Yuki, showing his status. It lists his name and a new tamed creature, a Fenrir named Pochi. Yuki is bewildered, wondering if this is another special gift from the goddess. As he stares at the screen, he feels a strange sensation. Memories, not his own, are flowing into his mind. He now understands. He sees through Pochi's eyes, looking at a distant dark castle. When the Demon King died, Pochi lost his purpose and began to suffer from the world's dark miasma. Yuki sees another memory of Pochi surrounded by smaller ice wolves. He realizes that Pochi didn't just lose his master, he lost his entire pack. The memories show Pochi and the last few members of his pack wandering through a cold, dead forest, alone and without a home. He watches as the last of Pochi's pack leaves him, flying away into the barren woods. The final memory shows Pochi, all alone, looking at Olympia's beautiful, safe barrier, hoping to find shelter from the harsh world. Yuki is filled with a deep sense of understanding and compassion for his new friend. He sees Pochi's deepest desire, to run free through a healthy, beautiful forest, not to cause harm. Yuki gently rests his forehead against Pochi, feeling a powerful bond between them. "Let's restore it together," he says softly, looking into Pochi's eyes, "to its beautiful form." Yuki's face becomes serious. To fulfill their shared dream, he knows he must deal with the miasma first. Pochi sits in front of him, looking like a very large, very fluffy and slightly silly puppy. Yuki crosses his arms and thinks hard. He tells Pochi that he looks too much like a dangerous beast and that his master, Lucy, will surely defeat him on sight. He wonders what he can do. A flash of inspiration hits him. In a puff of magical light, the giant Fenrir shrinks down into a tiny, adorable white fox, letting out a happy little woof. Yuki is amazed. "You can get small," he exclaims, delighted to see that the huge Pochi is now a cute little pup. The tiny Pochi jumps up and starts licking his face. Yuki laughs, saying how cute and ticklish he is. He plays with his new friend, telling him to sit. Pochi obeys perfectly. With a satisfied grin, Yuki praises him. "Good." He looks towards his home in the distance, thinking that if Pochi can stay this small, maybe he can convince his mothers to let him keep him. He runs back to the house, calling for his master and mom. He sees them sitting on the porch rail, waiting for him. As he approaches with the little Pochi at his heels, Lucy asks what's going on with the little mutt. Hearing that word, Pochi gets angry and lets out a sharp growl. Yuki quickly kneels and pets Pochi, calming him down. He assures his mothers that Pochi isn't scary. He looks up at them with his most hopeful expression. "Can I keep him?" he asks, promising to take very good care of him. Lucy looks from Yuki to the sad-looking little Pochi, seeming to consider his request. Olympia gently encourages Lucy. After a moment, Lucy sighs and says it should be fine, as long as Yuki is always with him. Yuki is overjoyed that his plan worked. He tells Pochi how glad he is, and Pochi barks happily, but the conversation isn't over. Lucy kneels down, her expression turning serious again as she gets his attention. With her arms crossed, she reminds him sternly, "You followed me even though I said no, didn't you?" Yuki looks down, ashamed. With tears in his eyes, he apologizes for disobeying. Pochi looks worried and tugs on his clothes. Lucy announces his new training plan. From now on, he will train properly, together with Pochi. Yuki and Pochi celebrate, waving their hands and paws in the air. "Yes, master!" he yells excitedly. The sky fades, showing that 2 years have passed in a blink of an eye. Inside the house, a now 6-year-old Yuki calls out to Olympia and Lucy, who turn to look at him. His eyes are filled with a new maturity and determination. He stands tall with Pochi by his side and makes a stunning announcement. "I want to leave this mountain." The scene changes. He, now older and dressed in traveler's clothes with a large backpack, stands before a carriage driver. He asks if the carriage is headed to a city called Tawanalite. The driver confirms that it is, but looks surprised. "Kid, are you traveling alone?" he asks. Yuki nods. "Yes, it's just me and I've got Pochi too," he says cheerfully. He asks if they can ride, and Pochi barks in agreement. The man laughs and agrees, saying a fare is a fare. He tells them to hop in, and Yuki cheers. The camel-like animal pulling the cart gives Pochi a bored, unimpressed look. Pochi stares right back, not intimidated at all. Yuki calls for Pochi to hurry up, and his faithful friend runs to join him by the carriage. Together they struggle but manage to climb onto the back of the wagon. Sitting among barrels and crates, Yuki takes a deep breath. His great journey is finally beginning. He pulls out his sword and sees the faint reflection of his old self, Kanzaki Yuki. He promises himself that he will do his best. The story flashes back to a few days earlier, to the moment he made his announcement. A slightly younger Yuki stands before his family and declares with passion that he wants to leave the mountain. Olympia and Lucy look completely stunned by his words. Olympia is the first to speak, her voice filled with worry. "Leave here? What are you saying?" Lucy is also taken aback, remarking on how sudden his decision is. She stands silently for a moment, trying to process what he's just said. Outside, rain begins to fall, matching the worried atmosphere inside the house. Olympia tries to reason with him, telling him he's still so young and should wait until he's older. But Yuki is prepared. He explains that after 2 years of training with Pochi, he's strong enough to easily defeat the dangerous monsters Lucy once told him about. He tells them he knows their home is a wonderful, safe place, but the world outside the barrier is ravaged by miasma and completely different. Olympia listens, her expression softening as she starts to understand his reasons. He turns to them, his face full of love, and reassures them that he isn't trying to get away from them. A narrow panel emphasizes the importance of his next words. With a warm and honest smile, he says, "If anything, it's the exact opposite. I love you both." He explains his true goal. He wants to travel the world, learn as much as he can, and find a way to get rid of the miasma for good. Olympia is touched by his noble goal, but she is still worried for his safety. Lucy places a comforting hand on Olympia's shoulder, understanding what Yuki is trying to say. Yuki clasps his hands together, his voice filled with passion. "I don't want to wait for someone else to do it. I want to do it myself." He looks up, his eyes shining with purpose. "I'll restore the mountains of Athos that you both loved, to their original beautiful state. That's my dream," he declares, his hand over his heart. Tears stream down Olympia's. She whispers his name, her voice trembling with emotion. "Yuki, I want to see a beautiful Athos too." She floats over and wraps him in a tight, loving hug. Lucy watches them, a sad but proud look on her face. She turns to him and gives her blessing. "So you've decided," she says. "But don't overdo it." Held in Olympia's arms, Yuki explains that as a kid, he needs to go out and experience the world. He then turns to his master, Lucy. "And master," he says, "when I can't do something, I'll rely on adults." He admits that the journey will be hard. He might fail, and he might want to give up. He takes a determined step forward. "Even so," he says, looking at them with unwavering resolve, "I want to go." Lucy smiles, her heart filled with pride. "You've grown up splendidly without me noticing," she says. Olympia looks at him with pure love. Yuki smiles brightly. "Even apart, we're still family. I'll always be your child," he promises. He remembers the day they found him, a baby in the snow, and welcomed him into their lives. The three of them, with Pochi joining in, share one last, heartfelt group hug. They are, and always will be, a precious family. The scene transitions to a bright, clear day. Back in the house, Lucy sits at a desk, writing with a quill. She tells Yuki that since he knows nothing about the world, she's writing a letter of introduction to an old acquaintance. Yuki peers over her shoulder. An old acquaintance? Is it your friend, master? He asks. Lucy replies vaguely, something like that. She tells him about a man named Peter in the mining city of Tawanalite. He runs a business helping people with various jobs. She explains that Tawanalite is a big city, and working there will be a good way for him to learn about the world. Yuki asks the most important question. Can I bring Pochi too? Pochi raises his paw excitedly. Lucy glances back and agrees, remarking that it seems Pochi only follows him anyway. Yuki and Pochi celebrate. He's so happy his best friend can come with him. Lucy tells him she'll mention Pochi in the letter. Lucy informs him that once she gets a reply, they will set a date for his departure. He nods in understanding. During the 2 years of training, Lucy had taught him everything he needed to survive: how to hunt, which pelts sold for high prices, and all sorts of useful skills. Back in the present, as Lucy helps him pack his bag on the day of his departure, he knows that everything she taught him will be a great help. He feels a nervous but thrilling mix of anxiety and excitement. His adventure is about to begin. He thinks about how different this new life is. In his previous one, he always held back for his family, never taking risks. But now, he pats his backpack, filled with excitement about finally testing his abilities in the wide world. He turns to his little companion. It's exciting, huh, Pochi? Pochi looks up and barks enthusiastically. And so, the day of departure finally arrives at their peaceful home in the forest. Olympia gives him one last bone-crushing hug, asking if he's sure he won't reconsider. He complains that she's squishing him while Lucy follows with his luggage. Olympia quickly lets go, flustered and apologetic, leaving Yuki with dizzy eyes. Lucy gives him a final check, asking if he has the letter of introduction. He confirms he does. She gives him a hug, offering some last-minute advice. Keep an eye on your map, money, and luggage. Don't let them out of your sight. With tears in her eyes, Olympia pushes a bag of fruit into his hands, insisting he take it. She begins to cry, lamenting that her spirit body can't leave the mountain to go with him and worrying he's forgotten something. Lucy steps in. One more thing, she says seriously. What I'm about to say is the most important. She looks him directly in the eyes and gives him a strange warning. Even if you're attacked, absolutely do not fight seriously. Yuki is completely baffled by this advice. He thinks about it. If a child were attacked by an adult, people would tell the child to run away, not fight. He understands her meaning now. He should run, not engage in a real fight. He happily agrees, then Lucy presents him with her parting gift. It's a dagger. He sees his own wide-eyed reflection in the polished blade. Lucy explains that she borrowed the dagger from her father when she left home because he didn't have a proper sword to give a woman. Yuki takes the dagger, recognizing it as the one he used while training and adventuring with his master. He fastens the precious gift to his side. He looks up at his master and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. Lucy helps him one last time, lifting his heavy backpack onto his shoulders and telling him to go on. She gives him a gentle, encouraging push forward. He takes a deep breath, his face shadowed with the emotion of the moment, and says his final farewells. Then, he turns around, his sadness replaced by a brilliant, determined smile. I'm off, he shouts, waving as he and Pochi run down the path. Olympia and Lucy wave back, watching their boy begin his journey into the world. The two of them fade into the distance as Yuki and Pochi walk towards their future. Aboard the carriage, the reality of the moment sinks in. He looks at his reflection in the dagger again. He feels lonely leaving his family, but since he chose this path, he knows he has to give it his all. Pochi barks, nudging him gently. Yuki smiles, remembering he's not alone. Yeah, that's right. Pochi's with me, so I'll be fine, the driver calls out, announcing their departure for the city of Tawanalite. As the carriage starts to move, Yuki and Pochi peer over the side, watching their adventure begin. The driver warns him not to lean out too far, boasting that if they run into a dangerous black wolf pack, he'll floor it, meaning drive faster. Yuki notices the carriage is empty except for them and a few other quiet passengers. He asks if it's reserved. The driver explains that on this route, the only other person who usually rides is the famous Lord Granadas. Curious, Yuki asks who that is. The driver explains that Lord Granadas is the great hero who defeated the Demon King. He describes the hero as a mysterious masked warrior, so strong he was like a one-man army, who appeared with his comrades to save the world. Yuki and Pochi are amazed. A real hero. He hugs Pochi, thinking that while his master Lucy is incredibly strong, there are even more amazing people out in the world. He feels a new wave of determination, deciding he must also become a strong adult. He looks out at the open road, his heart pounding with excitement for the encounters that lie ahead. He can't wait. They watch the magical world pass by, their faces full of wonder. Yuki points to a cluster of sparkling lights in the sky that looks just like a giant whale. Later, more passengers have boarded, and Yuki finds himself squished between them. Two rough-looking men sit across from them. Pochi growls quietly, sensing they might be trouble. The long journey and the rocking of the carriage soon lull Yuki to sleep, his head resting against his large backpack. The carriage rolls on, getting closer and closer to its destination. "Young boy, we've arrived," the driver calls out. Pochi barks, excited to finally be there. Pochi licks Yuki's face to wake him up. Yuki yawns. "Good morning." The driver asks how his ride was. Yuki thanks him and says it wasn't bad since he slept the whole time. The driver smiles, glad he enjoyed the trip. He remarks that it was a lucky ride since the Black Wolf Pack didn't show up. Yuki and Pochi just smile, happy to have arrived safely. They hop off the carriage, ready for their first look at the city. Yuki's eyes go wide with amazement. He stands in a huge town square, surrounded by bustling market stalls, tall buildings, and more people than he's ever seen. "So this is the big city," he exclaims. He sees all kinds of new sights, like a friendly woman selling fruit at a busy stall. People walk and talk everywhere, going about their daily lives in the lively city. Two beautifully dressed women notice him and his giant backpack. One points and calls him a cute, walking bag. One of the women approaches him, asking if a little kid like him wants to play with her. He remembers his mother's warnings. "Don't go with strangers," he shouts, politely declining and running off as fast as he can. He and Pochi quickly make their way down a less crowded cobblestone alley. He stops to catch his breath and pulls out the map Lucy gave him, wondering where he's supposed to meet Mr. Peter. Just then, a gust of wind snatches the map from his hands and blows it down the alley. He chases after it and finds it in front of a doorway. He picks up the map and looks up to see the name of the place, Good Kids Hall. But standing there are the two rough-looking men from the carriage. He knows this is bad. He and Pochi stare, confused by the scene before them. The two men are standing over a girl who has collapsed on the ground. The girl is dressed in white robes and seems to be unconscious. The alley is dark and quiet, a perfect place for trouble. Yuki and Pochi are completely shocked to stumble upon this. The men also seem surprised, exclaiming loudly when they find the girl. They turn and see Yuki. The larger bald man points and shouts, "You!" His companion recognizes them as the kid and dog from the carriage. Yuki remembers that Pochi was wary of these two. He steps forward and asks what they are doing. The man with the bandana tries to make excuses, claiming he was stopping his friend from robbing the girl. Yuki gives them a very suspicious stare. Ignoring their lies, Yuki kneels beside the girl to see if she's okay. He's relieved to find she's still breathing. The bald man gets angry at being ignored. "One hit to a brat like this and he'll shut up," the man yells, lunging forward. He throws a wild punch, but Yuki, holding Pochi, effortlessly leans back and dodges it. The man is stunned, unable to believe he missed. He furiously tells his partner to grab the kid. The other man reluctantly agrees, apologizing as he reaches for Yuki. They both try to grab him at once, but Yuki is too quick. He easily dodges, and the two clumsy thugs crash right into each other. Yuki watches them, unimpressed. The two men are not very good at being bad guys. He easily evades their clumsy attempts to catch him. After training with Lucy, he thinks, this feels like a walk in the park. The two men grow more and more frustrated with the little boy who is too fast for them. Yuki gets into a ready stance, realizing that at this rate, he can probably handle them himself. But just as he's about to act, the bandana-wearing man shouts, "Wait!" A mysterious cloaked figure appears at the end of the alley. The man cries out the name, "Be able!" The bald man apologizes to the newcomer, who scolds him for trying to harm a child. The cloaked person, Abel, stands over them, his presence commanding respect. Yuki recognizes him as one of the quiet passengers from the carriage. Abel calmly assesses the unconscious girl. He tells Yuki she's likely just exhausted her mana or is very hungry, and that she should wake up soon. He turns to Yuki and apologizes for the trouble his two companions caused. With that, the three of them turn and leave the alley. Yuki is left wondering what that was all about. Just then, the girl on the ground begins to stir with a small groan. Pochi barks, getting Yuki's attention. He rushes to her side. "Are you okay?" he asks gently. The girl's beautiful eyes, which have pupils shaped like flowers, flutter open. She sits up, looking around the strange alley, and asks, "Where am I?" In an alley in Tawano Light," Yuki answers, hoping she's all right. Suddenly, the girl gets sick, spitting out several small, jelly-like slimes. Yuki and Pochi are startled by the strange sight. The girl is very embarrassed and apologizes profusely. Yuki, flustered but kind, tries to reassure her that it's okay. Yuki recalls Abel's words about mana depletion. He wonders if these are the symptoms and what he could do to help her feel better. He offers his hand to help her up, asking if she can stand. She looks weak and groans, unable to get up on her own. As she takes his hand, he instinctively channels some of his life energy into her. A warm, gentle glow envelops their joined hands. The girl looks up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Huh?" she says, feeling a surge of energy returning to her body. She immediately recognizes the technique. She exclaims that he's using a healer's special skill to share his mana with her. Now able to stand, she marvels at his ability, amazed that someone so young can already perform such an advanced technique. Yuki is a bit embarrassed by the praise. He introduces himself as Kanzaki Yuki and wonders if this healing ability is another one of the goddess's special gifts. The girl's face lights up with gratitude and admiration. She introduces herself as Sakura Halcyon and respectfully calls him Lord Yuki. Sakura bows thankfully and asks if there is anything she can do to repay him for saving her life. Yuki hesitates for a moment, then gets an idea. Then, he starts, a bit shyly. With a small blush, he confesses that he's completely lost and asks if she would be kind enough to guide him to the Peter statue. The two of them, along with the faithful Pochi, are seen walking together down a busy city street. Sakura learns that he came all the way from the deep mountains and is impressed that someone so small is so admirable and brave. As they walk, Sakura starts to speak negatively about herself, feeling useless for collapsing compared to him. To change the subject, Yuki asks her about the city of Tawanolite. Sakura explains that Tawanolite was once a completely barren land where not even a single blade of grass would grow. But everything changed when Sir Peter, who was a member of the great hero Granatus's party, discovered that the land held large deposits of a precious mineral called Evanium. She excitedly explains that Evanium is a type of spirit stone, a crystal formed from the accumulated power of ancient spirits. The stones mined here are especially rich in light and fire spirit power. Since the miasma from the Demon King weakened the spirit's power, discovering Evanium was like finding a new ray of hope for the world. She declares that Sir Peter is a true living legend. She spreads her arms wide as if presenting the city to a grand audience, getting very passionate about its history. Yuki and Pochi are impressed by her devotion. A crowd starts to gather, and some people toss coins at her feet. She gets embarrassed and tells them this isn't a street performance. After composing herself, she continues her tour guide-like explanation, pointing out different parts of the city that were built thanks to the amazing Sir Peter. She points to a grand statue of Sir Peter in the distance. Yuki squints and notices a man standing near the statue who looks exactly like it. The man turns and gives a friendly wave, and Yuki is a bit startled by the coincidence. The man walks up to them, smiling as he introduces himself. He extends a hand to Yuki, guessing he must be Lord Yuki, and saying it's nice to meet him. Yuki is confused by being called Lord, and Sakura looks completely starstruck. Sakura Sir Peter, why are you in a place like this? The man, Peter, just looks at her, while Yuki is still trying to figure out what's going on. It's the man himself, the legendary Peter. He smiles warmly, confirming he heard about Yuki from Lady Lucy and officially welcomes him to Tawanolite. Yuki finds it strange that even though Peter is so famous, no one in the crowd seems to notice or bother him. He wonders if Peter is consciously hiding his presence. He's once again filled with awe, thinking that the adults in this world are truly amazing. Peter turns his attention to the flustered young lady. Sakura shyly introduces herself again. Peter suddenly and gently picks Yuki up. "Pardon me, Lord Yuki." He holds Yuki in one arm and pets the happy Pochi with his other hand. Peter kindly invites Sakura to come to his home as well. He explains that it's the least he can do to serve tea to the benefactor who guided Lord Yuki safely to him. Sakura is flustered but agrees, thinking to herself how incredibly smooth and charming he is. The three of them walk down the street together, with the legendary Peter carrying Yuki. They arrive at a pleasant-looking building in the city. It's Peter's Helping Hand shop. Yuki is surprised to find that he can read the sign, realizing it must be another one of the goddess's useful perks. Peter opens the door and gestures for them to enter. They step inside the shop, and Yuki politely says, "Excuse us." Inside, Peter welcomes them properly and tells Yuki he will be in his care from now on. Peter kindly offers the bread and fruit on the table to Sakura. Sakura happily eats the bread, realizing she was very hungry after all. Peter goes to the counter to prepare some tea for his guests. Suddenly, a young woman with braided brown hair rushes down the stairs, complaining that her dad didn't wake her when guests arrived. The young woman and Sakura lock eyes in mutual recognition. The young woman identifies Sakura as a novice saintess from the Musean order. Upon being recognized, Sakura suddenly stands up, apologizes, and says she just remembered something urgent she has to do before quickly rushing out. Peter looks on with a concerned expression. Yuki asks him what's wrong with Sakura. Peter explains that the Musean order she belongs to has various complicated issues, and he promises he'll explain more when the time is right. Yuki hugs Pochi, thinking to himself that the grown-up world is very complicated indeed. Peter turns his attention back to his son's first day. He properly introduces the young woman as his daughter, Akino. Akino smiles and says it's nice to meet him. Yuki introduces himself and Pochi, saying he'll be in their care. Akino replies that seeing such a cute kid and his dog puts her at ease. Akino tells him she'll make tea now, and Peter looks on with a warm, fatherly smile. Over tea, Peter reads from Lucy's letter. He mentions that Lucy wrote Yuki was too much for her to handle alone. Peter was surprised by this, but now that he's met him, he's relieved to see that Yuki seems like a pretty normal child. Yuki is confused about what Lucy could have meant. Sipping his tea, Yuki understands. Lucy taught him everything she could about fighting beasts in the mountains, but she couldn't teach him about the wider world. He realizes she put a lot of thought into sending him here. Akino explains that their helping hand shop gets all kinds of different requests. She lists some of the typical jobs, from simple roof repairs and helping with arguments to giving tours of the mines. She continues, adding that they also get requests for cleaning holy aura pools and, most importantly, cleaning up miasma. Yuki's eyes light up. He gets excited, thinking that if he helps with many different jobs here, he might finally figure out how to cleanse the miasma in the Athos mountain range. Peter asks if he is willing to lend a hand, and Yuki eagerly raises his hand and says, "Yes." He bows his head and promises to work really hard so he can learn as much as possible. Peter and Akino smile warmly, saying they look forward to working with him. Peter shares a quiet moment with Yuki. Peter tells Yuki something interesting. He says that he thinks he's figured out why Lucy and Olympia became close again. He explains that after the miasma was scattered, the two rarely spent time together. But in the years after Yuki arrived, their letters to each other became affectionate again. Peter suggests that Yuki is the one who tied their hearts back together. Yuki is surprised and touched to hear this. Yuki clenches his fists, feeling a new and powerful sense of resolve. He thinks about his two mothers, the special people who raised him, and declares proudly that they are his mothers whom he is proud of. He tells Peter and Akino that it's for his mother's sake, as well as his own, that he wants to find a way to eliminate the miasma. He blushes shyly, imagining how happy and proud they would be if he succeeded, and how much they would praise him. Peter and Akino look at him with kind smiles and agree to work hard together. Peter smiles and says, "Then first," as if about to give him his first task. Just then, a well-dressed man bursts through the door in a complete panic, shouting that there's big trouble. Yuki, Peter, and Akino look up, startled by the sudden intrusion. The man, Mr. Hilk, exclaims that his manor has turned into a terrifying monster mansion and he urgently wants to hire their help. This is a duplicate image, shows them in the office. Outside the large, fancy manor, the air feels heavy and stagnant, and a dark aura hangs over the building. Yuki looks at the creepy mansion, his expression determined. He thinks that for the sake of their client, Mr. Hilk, they've got to handle this themselves. This is a duplicate image, shows Mr. Hilk bursting in. Yuki is shocked. A monster mansion? Peter calmly asks the frantic Mr. Hilk to please calm down and explain exactly what happened. Mr. Hilk explains that the truth is, the manor he's in charge of has become a miasma pool. Yuki asks what a miasma pool is. Peter explains that it's a space where the negative energy, or miasma, released by the Demon King has accumulated and stagnated. Mr. Hilk confirms this, adding with a sad expression that the previous tenant became so scared that they fled in the middle of the night. He explains that he tried cleaning whenever he could between his other jobs, but before he knew it, beasts had gotten in and the furniture itself had turned into monsters. A flashback shows him running in terror from a ghostly sheet monster. He says they could just burn the whole place down, but the house was a gift from his father and is full of precious memories. Peter listens thoughtfully, understanding his client's difficult situation. He gently taps Yuki's head to get his attention. Peter turns to Yuki and asks if he would be willing to take this on as his very first job. Yuki is surprised to be asked. Peter winks, explaining that his daughter Akino handles most of the practical work and he'd like Yuki to support her. Standing alone in a spotlight of self-doubt, Yuki worries that he'll just make everyone anxious if he tries to help, because after all, he's still just a 6-year-old. He looks at the daunting mansion, feeling the immense weight of his first real job. But despite his doubt, he puffs out his chest with determination. If he's been asked to do a job, he's going to do it. At the manor, he turns to his senior partner and asks, "Ms. Aquino, what do we do for a miasma pool?" Aquino gives a sly laugh as she polishes a pair of goggles. "That is..." She dramatically puts on her cleaning gear, goggles, and a face mask, and brandishes a broom like a sword. "A big cleanup," she declares. While tying a mask on Yuki, Aquino explains the plan. Improve ventilation, defeat any beasts or monsters, and clean everything thoroughly. That's how you solve a miasma pool. As they prepare to enter, Aquino tells them the beasts are weak, but the miasma can still make them dizzy, so they have to be quick. Even Pochi gets a little mask for his snout. Yuki pulls up his mask and says, "Got it!" The cleaning crew bravely marches forward. Inside, Yuki takes in the dark, dusty mansion, ready for his first mission. Even I can do this, he thinks, and the team charges in to begin their work. Yuki immediately gets to work, throwing open the old shutters to let fresh air and sunlight into the stale room. While Aquino gets her cleaning supplies ready, Yuki is already scrubbing the floors. Pochi does his part, using his fluffy tail to dust away the cobwebs under a table. Thanks to his God-given strength, Yuki easily lifts a heavy sofa to clean behind it, while Aquino sweeps and Pochi takes a well-deserved break. Soon, the once gloomy room is sparkling clean, with sunlight streaming through the windows. Yuki wipes a bit of sweat from his brow, proud of their work. "All right, it's getting pretty clean," he says. Pochi lets out a happy bark. They move on, heading down a long, dark hallway to tackle the next part of the mansion. Suddenly, a scream echoes from deeper within the house. Yuki stops, recognizing the voice. He tells Aquino he's going to check it out and sprints off with Pochi before she can stop him. He peeks around a corner just in time to see 2 robed figures fleeing in terror. He recognizes them from the manor earlier. One of the figures urges the other to run, mentioning that someone is still in the back room. Yuki feels the miasma getting much thicker here. Aquino catches up, scolding him for running off alone. He ignores her for a moment and bravely grabs the doorknob to the back room. He throws the door open and is met with an incredible sight. Dozens of books with angry faces are flying through the air like a tornado. Aquino explains that libraries are prone to becoming miasma pools, and these are dangerous book-type monsters. Aquino is completely overwhelmed by the chaos, saying this is far beyond what she imagined and she needs to get her father. Yuki suddenly feels dizzy from the thick miasma. He knows they have to find whoever is trapped inside and get out immediately. He spots a figure huddled in the corner, groaning in pain. It's Sakura. She's surrounded by the swirling monster books, clutching her head in agony. One of the books swoops down and opens its pages right in her face, causing her to scream in terror. That's it. Yuki can't stand by any longer. He apologizes to his master for breaking his promise not to fight seriously. He knows what he's about to do is reckless, but he has to save her. He faces a swarm of the book monsters charging straight for him. With a burst of speed, he leaps into action. He unleashes a series of lightning-fast kicks, destroying the monsters in an instant. He runs along the wall, his movements too fast for the monsters to follow. He lands another powerful, precise kick. He performs a powerful spinning kick, destroying a monster that was about to attack Sakura from behind. He lands perfectly in front of her, stomping the last monster into a puff of dust. He turns, holds out his hand, and asks with a gentle smile, "Ms. Sakura, are you okay?" Sakura looks up, her eyes wide with amazement at her heroic rescuer. She takes his offered hand and confirms that she's all right. He helps her to her feet and tells her they need to leave quickly, leading her out of the dangerous room while Akino watches in disbelief. Once they are safely outside the mansion, Sakura thanks him for saving her. Yuki is just relieved his reckless plan worked. Akino and Sakura both notice that Yuki isn't wearing his mask and ask if he's feeling the effects of the miasma. He confidently says he's fine. He realizes it's true. He's not getting dizzy at all, even after being in that thick miasma. He wonders if this is another one of the goddess's gifts. Akino decides the situation is too dangerous. They need to report back to her father, so the three of them head home for now. Back at Peter's helping hand shop, they report what happened. Peter listens to their story with a serious expression, but he is most glad that everyone made it back safely. Akino helps Sakura, who is still feeling weak. Sakura thanks Akino for sharing some of her mana, which makes her feel much better. Yuki asks Sakura the obvious question: why was she at that dangerous manor in the first place? Akino adds that she saw other people there, the ones who ran away. Sakura quietly explains that they were her seniors from the Musean Order. She tells them they went to the manor to capture monsters. Since she has a lot of mana, which attracts powerful beasts, her seniors used her as bait. Yuki is horrified to hear that she was used as bait. Sakura looks down with a sad smile, saying that if her seniors managed to escape, she's glad. She adds that even someone worthless like her can have a purpose. Her self-deprecating words shock and upset both Peter and Yuki. Akino explains the harsh reality of Sakura's life. To become a full saintess, trainees must pay a huge tribute to the order, so they are often forced to take on dangerous, unofficial jobs. Peter adds that some rare beasts and monsters can be sold for a lot of money on the black market. Sakura looks ashamed, admitting she knows it's wrong but feels she has no other choice. She opens up about her past, explaining that she is the seventh daughter of a poor, noble family. Her only notable trait was having a large amount of mana. Because of this, she joined the order, hoping she could use her gift to help her family financially. She clenches her fists, saying she dreamed that even a clumsy person like her could become a saintess to heal the sick and purify miasma. She truly believed she could be useful to people. Yuki listens patiently, his heart going out to her. Sakura's voice breaks as she confesses that she couldn't earn enough to pay the tribute and had to use the money her parents gave her. Now, even that is gone. Yuki looks at her, his expression filled with sympathy. Peter explains a cruel rumor about the order. If a trainee can't pay, they are trapped as a trainee for life. This is a duplicate image, confirms the rumor. Yuki whispers her name sadly, understanding the depth of her despair. With tears in her eyes, Sakura says that despite being worthless, she was shown kindness by him. She looks up with a sad but grateful smile, saying that being saved by him has made her truly happy. Yuki can't take it anymore. He slams his fist on the table. "You're not useless at all," he shouts, startling her. He looks her in the eye and tells her firmly, "You're a kind person, Sakura." He reminds her how she guided him through the city when he was a complete stranger, lost and alone. He points out her selfless act at the manor, where she acted as bait to help her seniors escape. With his arms spread wide, he declares with a bright, shining smile, "Someone like you, who can act for others, is absolutely wonderful." Sakura's eyes widen, sparkling with tears as his kind words wash over her. Peter gently tells Akino not to be so harsh on herself either, seeing how she is also affected by Sakura's story. Overwhelmed by Yuki's passionate defense of her character, Sakura begins to cry tears of relief. Yuki comforts her, telling her he understands what it feels like to think you're not good enough. He reflects that it's easy and comfortable to fall into the mindset of thinking poorly of oneself, because he used to be that way too. Peter and Akino smile, adding their voices of support and telling Sakura she is a good person. Through her tears, Sakura looks at Yuki and manages to whisper, "Thank you." As he comforts her, Yuki wonders if there's anything more he can do to help. Suddenly, he gets a brilliant idea. He turns to Peter and proposes a plan. To help Sakura regain her confidence, They should officially hire her to help with cleaning the manor. Peter listens thoughtfully to the boy's earnest suggestion. He smiles, realizing it's an excellent idea. Since Sakura has high mana, she will be a great asset for the job. Peter turns to Sakura and offers her the job of helping Yuki and Akino, promising to pay her a proper reward for her work. He places a coin on the table as an advance payment to seal the deal. Sakura is hesitant, still trapped in her old way of thinking. But someone like me? But then, the hope in Yuki's eyes gives her strength. Her face lights up with a determined and joyful expression. "No, please, by all means," she exclaims, eagerly accepting the job. The group is now officially a team, united in their mission to clean the monster mansion. Akino rolls up her sleeves, ready to get back to work. Pochi stands at attention, prepared for action. And Sakura, holding her staff, is no longer a victim but a valued member of the team, ready to contribute. The newly formed team stands proudly before the daunting mansion, ready to begin their mission. The Hilk mansion looms before them, but this time they are ready for it. Akino, taking charge, points towards the building and lays out their strategy. "Let's clean thoroughly and efficiently. We'll start with the back rooms where the miasma is thickest." A close-up shows Akino's determined face, a finger pointed up confidently as she rallies her team. Yuki, ever curious, looks at the goggles perched on her head. "Akino, I was wondering yesterday too. What's with those glasses?" Akino adjusts the glasses with a smug, professional air. "These are glasses that let me visualize miasma," she explains. "With these, I won't miss even the tiniest bit of it." Through the lens of her special Akino vision, she looks at Yuki and Pochi, but what she sees makes her gasp in surprise. She notices that the swirling purple miasma seems to vanish around Yuki, creating a pure, clean aura. Sakura, who is also wearing special goggles, agrees, saying it's much easier to breathe just by being near him. Akino taps her chin thoughtfully. She explains that normally, miasma can only be purified by physically cleaning a space or by using holy water. Yuki asks what holy water is. Sakura explains that it's special water that has been infused with the power of the Great Spirit. The girls are both amazed by Yuki's mysterious abilities. He purifies miasma just by being there and doesn't get sick from it. Yuki remembers his life in the forest, with his mother Olympia, a great spirit, always providing him with fresh water, food, and fruit. A happy smile spreads across his face as he realizes the truth. Could it be? He thinks. All the delicious water and food he grew up with must have given him this incredible resistance. A quick flash shows Olympia trying to hide a knowing giggle. The girls ask him what's so funny, but Yuki just says it's nothing, keeping his secret for now. Akino claps her hands, bringing them back to the task. "All right, let's get back to it and make this place shine," she cheers, and the team agrees. They get to work in a dusty bedroom. Sakura sweeps diligently while Yuki cleans the windows and Akino makes the bed. Pochi, meanwhile, finds the freshly made bed to be the perfect spot for a nap. Akino playfully flips the sheet over Pochi, who rolls onto his back in surprise. Yuki gets down on his hands and knees, scrubbing the stone floor with all his might. Akino joins him, and they scrub side by side. Sakura takes a moment to wipe her brow, smiling proudly as the floor begins to sparkle. Yuki watches Sakura as she works tirelessly, scrubbing the floor with focus and determination. He crosses his arms, nodding in quiet approval. He's glad they invited her. She's a serious, kind, and good person. Sakura feels him looking and gets flustered, her cheeks turning red. Suddenly, she spots a small, spidery monster crawling near Yuki and shouts, "Watch out, Lord Yuki!" Without even flinching, Yuki swats the little monster with his bare hand, destroying it in a puff of smoke. The girls are stunned. Akino and Sakura are completely speechless, while Pochi yawns as if it was nothing. No way," Akino stammers. "You swatted away a monster bare-handed?" Yuki just shrugs. "Back in the mountains, the spiders were even bigger," he says casually, completely missing why they're so shocked. The very thought of bigger spiders makes Akino turn green. Sakura rushes to her side, worried. Showing her kind, healing nature, Sakura offers to share some of her mana with Akino to help her feel better. Akino tells Sakura not to put herself down again, saying she's really glad she's there to help. Yuki smiles, holding Pochi in his arms, happy to see his new team working so well together. Feeling better, rallies herself. Now that I'm feeling better, let's move on to the remaining rooms. They look up at their final challenge, the grand chandelier in the entrance hall, completely covered in thick webs and crawling with spider monsters. Akino points it out as the last and toughest spot to clean. She wonders how they'll even reach it. The dark miasma hangs heavy in the air around the infested fixture. I'll go take care of it, Yuki announces confidently, stepping forward. Before the girls can protest, he gets a running start and dashes up a nearby pillar. He effortlessly runs along the wall, swatting away spiders in a 3-hit combo as he goes. He gracefully lands on top of the massive chandelier, ready to start cleaning. Akino and Sakura watch from below, their mouths wide open in disbelief at his incredible acrobatic skills. Akino turns to a proud-looking Pochi and says, "Your master has been amazing this whole time." The team works together to restore the chandelier. Akino carefully polishes one of the crystal pieces. Yuki, perched on top, scrubs the main fixture until it shines. Sakura gently wipes down the delicate crystal beads, her touch careful and precise. With their work done, the team stands outside the now sparkling Hilk Manor, cheering for their success. Cleaning complete. Back at Peter's helping hand shop, their client is waiting. Mr. Hilk looks at them with tears of gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you so much," he says. "You've made it so clean. I'm sure my late parents would be happy too." Peter gently reminds him not to let the manor get into such a state again. Mr. Hilk apologizes sheepishly. He happily hands Peter a large bag of coins as payment for their excellent work. Mr. Hilk waves goodbye, overjoyed to have his precious family home restored. Sakura and Yuki watch him go, glad to see their client so happy. Back inside, Peter calls Yuki and Sakura over to give them their pay for a job well done. Peter explains to Yuki that following Lucy's instructions, he's taking a small fee for rent and meals, but the rest is for Yuki to learn how to manage on his own. Yuki is shocked and thrilled. He clutches the bag of coins, never expecting to earn anything for himself. Peter then hands a much larger bag of coins to Sakura, hoping it will be enough to cover her required tribute to the order. Sakura's eyes sparkle with unshed tears of joy. "Yes, thank you very much," she says. "It's more than enough." Peter smiles, then says he has one more piece of news to share. He explains that he reported the successful purification of the mansion to the Museum Church, but he told them that Sakura completed the job all by herself. Sakura is stunned and tries to protest, saying she only helped a little. Peter explains that his shop is an unofficial jack-of-all-trades group. "We don't need official credit," he says. "If we can just solve the problems of those who rely on us, that's enough." Therefore, it's beneficial for them to let the official record show it as Sakura's accomplishment, which will help her standing with the order. He looks to Yuki for agreement, and Yuki nods with a happy smile. Sakura still looks uncertain, feeling she doesn't deserve such credit. Peter smiles warmly and says there's one more thing they'd like to ask of her. Akino asks if she would be willing to continue helping them from time to time, explaining how quickly they finished the job thanks to her. The whole team thanks her, showing how much they value her as a partner. Sakura is overcome with emotion, her hands clasped tightly. With tears of pure happiness, she says, "I've never been needed by others like this before. It's me who should be saying it. Please let me keep helping you from now on." Akino comforts the crying Sakura, playfully telling her not to start crying again. The next day, Yuki is exploring the bustling city market with his first paycheck. He browses the stalls, wondering what he should get with his own money. Something in a shop window catches his eye. An elderly shopkeeper shows him a beautiful set of clockwork dolls that dance when they collect sunlight. Yuki recognizes that the doll's heart is a glowing fragment of Evonium. He thinks it's very pretty when it glows. He looks at the pair of dolls, one male, one female, and they remind him of Lucy and Olympia, his mom and dad. He imagines them calling his name, and a warm feeling spreads through his chest. With a determined blush, he makes up his mind. "I'll take this one," he tells the shopkeeper, pointing to the pair of dolls. He hugs his precious purchase tightly, smiling with pure happiness. He leaves the shop, thinking about the present he bought with his very first paycheck and wondering if his mom and dad will be happy when they receive it. Akino finds him in the market, asking if he found something good. He happily confirms he did. Suddenly, Pochi starts wagging his tail and barking excitedly. Pochi's nose is twitching, sniffing the air. A delicious smell wafts through the market, and both Yuki's and Pochi's stomachs start to rumble. Akino points to a stall selling large pieces of grilled meat. She decides to treat him as a celebration for both his first successful job and his arrival in the big city. She tells him to wait there and happily runs off to buy them a celebratory feast. Yuki thinks about the food he's eaten since arriving in this world. Besides his Mpia's magically delicious fruit, everything else has been rather plain, like bean soup and dry bread. He remembers the food on the road being bland or too salty. Nothing has tasted that great. His mouth waters with anticipation. This will be his very first time eating fresh, bone-in meat in this world. He's so excited. Akino returns, and Yuki and Pochi wait patiently. She hands a piece of meat to Pochi, who barks his thanks. "Ta-da! And for you, Yuki," she says, presenting him with a huge, steaming piece of grilled meat. She encourages him to eat it while it's hot. Both Yuki and Pochi dig in with gusto. They sit on a bench and enjoy their delicious treat together. He takes a huge bite. It's delicious, but he's surprised that the portion is smaller than he expected. Akino explains that because of the miasma corrupting the land, fresh meat is a rare and expensive luxury. He is shocked to hear this, and Akino explains that unless an area is very windy, it quickly becomes a miasma pool, making it almost impossible to raise animals or grow plants. This revelation gives him a stark look at the true cost of the miasma on the world. In the bright city of Tawanolite, Yuki and Akino enjoy a well-deserved treat after their difficult job, and she shares a hopeful dream of a future where they can enjoy even more snacks once the miasma is finally gone. His eyes sparkle with a newfound purpose, and he makes a silent vow to work as hard as he can to cleanse this world and make that beautiful, peaceful future a reality for everyone. Later, he sits quietly with a piece of bread, understanding that in a world where food is scarce, even the simplest meal without much flavor should be eaten with deep gratitude. He and Akino rest together on a simple bench as Pochi dozes nearby, soaking in a rare, peaceful moment of quiet normalcy in the bustling town square. Two young women in familiar white robes walk past, and Yuki immediately recognizes their uniforms as the same as Sakura's, his attention drawn to their conversation about a noble purifying a miasma pool. The trainees gossip with envy, one noting their leader's good mood, while the other complains that they shouldn't have left Sakura behind if the job was going to be that simple. They question how she could have possibly managed all the monsters and miasma by herself, especially when the location held no treasure to make such a dangerous effort worthwhile. As they walk away, they arrive at a bitter conclusion, assuming she must have used her noble family's influence and money to have someone else do the hard work for her. Yuki falls silent, the sweetness of his snack turning bitter in his mouth as their cruel and unfair words echo in his mind. Akino looks over with gentle concern, remarking that it's good Sakura's work was recognized by her church, but her tone reveals she understands the complicated, painful feelings behind it all. Pochi senses his master's sudden sadness and looks up with a soft, questioning bark, wondering what could be wrong. Yuki pulls his small friend into a tight hug, a deep frustration building inside him over the injustice of people being jealous of Sakura's hard work simply because of her family name. He looks up to the sky, desperately wishing there was a way for everyone to see Sakura's true kindness and appreciate the incredible effort she puts into everything she does. Far away in the pristine Athos Mountains, a familiar house stands beside a pure, shimmering pond, untouched by the world's corruption. By the water's edge, the great spirit Olympia stares into its depths, her beautiful face etched with a profound and lonely sadness. Lucy approaches from behind, her voice gentle but firm as she asks her friend how long she plans to stare into the water, knowing she's desperately hoping for a glimpse of Yuki. She knows Olympia is trying to use a spirit telescope, a way to see distant places through pure water, but it's a nearly impossible task when so much of the world's water is tainted by miasma. Tears fill Olympia's eyes as she remembers the other painful truth. Even if there were any pure springs left, they are all controlled by the Musean Church. Lucy's expression hardens at the mention of the church, her thoughts turning cold as she listens to Olympia's heartbroken sobs for her missing son. In that moment, a decision is made. Lucy turns away with sudden purpose, telling Olympia that she is going out for a while. Back in the city, Yuki looks up, a thoughtful look on his face, as if he can feel a distant, familiar presence calling out to him. A fierce determination crosses Lucy's face as she walks away from the pond. She will not wait any longer. She is going to check on Yuki herself. Sometime later, a wagon carrying the helping hand team rumbles down a dirt path, taking them toward their next important job. The path winds through beautiful fields of tall grass, leading towards a majestic mountain range that stands tall against the horizon. Yuki and Pochi peek over the side of the wagon, their eyes filled with wonder at the breathtaking, vibrant scenery of the countryside. He beams at his small companion, remarking how different and beautiful this is compared to the dark, miasma-filled forest they traveled through before. At the front of the wagon, their boss Peter turns back with a kind smile, announcing to the group that they are getting close to the village. He then asks Sakura to please explain the details of their new job to everyone before they arrive at their destination. Sakura takes a deep, steadying breath, her fist clenched over her heart as she prepares to take on her new responsibility with confidence. Facing her teammates, she announces that she will now brief them on today's helping job before they arrive at Tuka village. Yuki holds Pochi on his lap and gives her his full attention, politely encouraging her to begin the explanation. Sakura explains their mission. A miasma pool has formed near the village, causing ferocious beasts known as red tusk boars to appear in dangerous numbers. She continues, telling them a skilled local has been holding the boars back alone but is reaching his limit, forcing the village to ask for help. Yuki's eyes widen in alarm as he asks if their small team is truly expected to fight an entire horde of monsters. Sakura quickly reassures him with a smile, clarifying that their job is not to fight the beasts but to build strong fences to protect the village's fields. Peter adds that they are only the first responders and that the city of Tawanalite is already arranging for a proper team of beast hunters to handle the problem. Akino shares her knowledge, explaining that the only hunters capable of dealing with red tusk boars are the legendary Brooks hunting party, active since the Demon King era. Yuki and Pochi look at each other in awe, amazed that a group of hunters could be so strong and famous for so long. Sakura's eyes sparkle with excitement as she shares the stories she's heard of Lord Brooks fighting alongside the legendary Granada squad against the Demon King. She explains that although his fame is sometimes overshadowed by Lord Granada's legends, Lord Brooks's valor is known and respected throughout the world. A look of pure admiration fills Yuki's face, and he eagerly hopes he might get to meet a real hero who helped save the world. His thoughts then drift to the world's greatest idol, Lord Granada, and he wonders if he will ever have the honor of meeting him too. Sakura explains that because she helped arrange the job, a portion of the payment will be donated from the city directly to the Museon Church. A radiant, heartfelt smile spreads across her face as she whispers how happy she is to finally be able to repay everyone for their kindness. Seeing her so genuinely happy and full of newfound confidence brings a warm smile to Yuki's face as well. Peter points toward the horizon, calmly announcing that he can now see their destination, Toka village. But his calm expression instantly shatters, replaced by one of pure shock as he sees something terrible in the distance. A low rumble fills the air. The ground itself begins to tremble. A terrifying sight appears over the hill, a massive herd of red tusk boars. They are charging straight for them. Yuki cries out Pochi's name in surprise, but the little wolf is fearless, leaping into the air with an excited bark, ready for a fight. Pochi leaps from the wagon, a blur of white fur against the green grass, and Sakura cries out for him to come back, warning him that it's too dangerous. The team watches, frozen, as the only sound is Pochi's cheerful barking as he charges head-on toward the stampeding monsters. Akino, Peter, and Sakura stare with horrified expressions, certain their little friend is about to be trampled, but Yuki watches calmly, curious to see what his companion will do. They all stand up in the wagon, anxiously watching the impossible standoff between the tiny wolf and the massive herd of boars. Not wanting to be left out, Yuki jumps down from the wagon, his cape fluttering as he calls out Pochi's name. Pochi glances back with a happy bark, as if to tell his master, "Don't worry, I've got this." In an instant, it's over. The entire herd lies in a giant, unconscious pile. In front of them all sits tiny Pochi, looking immensely proud. Yuki rushes over and sweeps Pochi into a massive hug, praising him for being such an amazing and good boy, while the others can only stare in utter disbelief. As he pets his friend, a sudden noise makes them both look up, instantly on high alert. Something massive rushes past them in a blur of motion. Yuki's eyes widen as he realizes one of the boars wasn't knocked out and is now making a desperate escape. Suddenly, a muscular man appears, slamming a thick pole into the ground to block the beast's path, yelling in defiance. The man grits his teeth, his muscles straining as he single-handedly holds back the powerful, struggling monster. Seeing the man is in trouble, Yuki dashes forward without a second thought. He leaps into the air, twisting his small body in a perfect acrobatic flip. He comes down with incredible force, landing a powerful kick directly on the boar's head. The man can only watch in stunned silence as the small boy lands gracefully after knocking the monster out cold. Yuki turns to him with a bright, innocent smile, asking if the mister is okay. The man just blinks, completely bewildered, unable to form a single word in response. Recognition flashes across his face as he realizes this is the same boy from the road, just as worried villagers run over, calling out his name. Mai! The man, Mai, holds up a hand to reassure the villagers that he is fine, but warns them to keep their distance. Though the villagers are still nervous, his confident smile lets them know that the immediate danger has passed. He turns back to Yuki with a serious expression, quietly warning him not to tell anyone about their previous encounter on the road. The rest of the team arrives, and Akino wonders aloud if their help is even needed with Yuki and Pochi around, but Peter reminds her that it is important for the villagers to solve their own problems. Mai scoffs, looking over their small group with doubt and asking if this child, these women, and an old man are really the beast hunters sent to help. A villager steps in, gently reminding Mai that while he is strong, these people traveled a long way to help their village. Peter calmly approaches and asks if Mai has been the one fighting off the boars all this time, to which he simply grunts in confirmation. Mai explains with his arms crossed that he had just returned home after being fired from a job in the city, only to find his village in chaos. Yuki looks down, remembering exactly what that job was, and thinks to himself that what he really means is highway robbery. Suddenly, another wagon clatters to a stop behind them, and everyone turns to look. A man rushes out, and Mai groans in annoyance, recognizing him as someone he calls Stinky Abel. The man, Mighty, looks relieved to see the cloaked figure who traveled with him has arrived safely. The figure pulls back her hood, revealing Lucy, who looks sternly at her two old comrades. Abel panics, immediately assuming he's been fired again, but Mighty tries to explain that the point was for him to stop acting so recklessly on his own. Mighty awkwardly tries to introduce Lucy as a friend, but the confused Abel can only stammer in confusion. Yuki watches from a distance as the chaotic reunion unfolds, and Pochi sits beside him, seemingly amused by all the drama. A headache starts to form behind his eyes. He sighs, realizing this situation is becoming incredibly complicated. He pets Pochi and silently wishes that a dependable adult like Peter would step in and take control. But a quick glance shows Peter is occupied, as a villager has just recognized him as the legendary Mine Lord. Yuki looks at the arguing, disorganized adults and comes to a firm decision. Since they aren't working together, it's up to a kid like him to be direct. With a determined glint in his eye, he clenches his fist, realizing that he is the only one who can settle this mess. His small but clear voice cuts through the chaos, and every single adult stops talking and turns to look at him. With all eyes on him, Yuki asks what exactly is going on and declares that he will sort this out, a move so bold it stuns everyone into silence. Pochi lets out a supportive bark, the combination of the boy's confidence and the wolf's charm proving to be super effective. With the chaos finally settled, the entire group makes their way into the now peaceful Tuka village. As they walk, Lucy quietly explains to Sakura that while her group might borrow from the rich, they would never rob a poor church apprentice. Nearby, Abel is still scolding her, grabbing her cloak and demanding she apologize if she understands what she did wrong. To Sakura's absolute shock, the powerful Lucy meekly bows her head and apologizes, promising not to do something so stupid again. Sakura quickly waves her hands, insisting it's okay, and with a bright smile, she says she is actually grateful because it led to Yuki saving her. Her pure-hearted forgiveness leaves the three former bandits speechless, and Abel mutters that what they did is nothing to be grateful for. Now that things are calm, Akino takes charge of the former bandits, wagging her finger and sternly telling them that from now on, they must work honestly. Peter smiles as Akino explains her plan. Since they can't fight all the boars, they will build special traps to keep them out of the fields. He proudly holds up a sparkling net woven with Evanium scraps, explaining that its vibrations create light and waves that the boars despise. Abel grabs the net skeptically, doubting something so flimsy could stop a monster, and Mighty quickly warns him to be careful. Too late. The net flashes with energy, giving Abel a powerful shock that sends him yelling to the ground. Everyone stares as Abel twitches on the ground, and Akino proudly reveals that this clever trap was actually Yuki's idea. All eyes turn to the small boy, who seems surprised by the sudden attention, as the villagers stare in disbelief. The villagers are deeply impressed, remarking that it makes sense for a top museum trainee like Sakura to be working with someone so brilliant. Yuki shyly explains that he only remembered the electric fences his grandpa used to have, and it was the clever Akino who actually figured out how to build one. Akino claps her hands, full of energy, and announces that since the trap works, it's time to get everyone together to install it immediately. With a clear plan, everyone gets to work as a team, with Abel carrying heavy logs and even Lucy pitching in to help. Yuki and Pochi do their part, carefully tying the magical nets to the wooden posts while Pochi watches with a wagging tail. From a distance, the scale of their project is incredible, as dozens of people work together to build a long, protective barrier around the fields. Abel hammers posts deep into the ground with powerful swings, and Sakura watches, impressed by his hard work and dedication. She approaches him with a gentle smile to offer some encouragement for all his effort, and he looks up, surprised by her kindness. Her hands begin to glow with a warm light as she uses her sacred art to restore his energy and heal his exhaustion. He stares at his own hands, amazed as a new wave of energy flows through him, and Sakura smiles, happy that she could help. He looks away, a troubled expression on his face, and quietly asks if she isn't scared of him after he and his friends tried to rob her. Sakura looks at him calmly, saying that since they didn't actually hurt her, and since she knows they won't do it again, she has no reason to be afraid. With a sweet, trusting smile, she tells him she isn't scared, and her simple forgiveness leaves him completely speechless. His tough exterior finally softens, and he tells her she has a kind heart, and will one day become a fine saintess. The praise makes Sakura blush and wave her hands in embarrassment, promising that she will train even harder to become worthy. From a short distance away, Lucy watches this touching exchange from beneath her hood, her own thoughts hidden in the shadows. Filled with new energy, Abel announces a plan to work through the night, using lights to finish the fence as quickly as possible. Yuki gently tugs on his arm, advising against it. He knows from his life in the mountains that fires at night will only attract more monsters. Abel looks down at the little boy, his eyes narrowing as he seriously considers the wise advice. Trusting the boy's knowledge, he calls out to the workers, telling them to put out the lights and that they will finish their work tomorrow. He turns to Yuki with a genuinely impressed smile, admitting that the kid is amazing and truly knows the ways of the mountains. Yuki beams with pride, happily telling him that he grew up in the mountains, sharing a small piece of his secret past. That evening, everyone gathers for a well-deserved meal, and Yuki sits on a log, quietly sipping a drink with Pochi by his side. Lucy emerges from the shadows and quietly asks if she can join him. She sincerely apologizes for what happened on the road and thanks him for helping her old comrades find a new, better purpose. She sits beside him and tells him that because of his actions, she has finally made up her mind about something important. Yuki asks what she has decided, and she tells him with her eyes closed that she is going to leave her friends here in this village. He asks why, completely surprised, and she explains with a pained look that she has her own reasons for leaving them behind. Her eyes flash with a strange light, a sign of her secret ability. She reveals that her special eyes can see people's hidden potential, and as she speaks, Yuki sees an image of her friends laughing happily with the villagers. She knows they have finally found a place where they belong and can be happy, and they will be fine without her. She gives him a small, genuine smile, telling him that this is also thanks to him, and for that, she is grateful. Yuki cuddles Pochi, thinking about the difficult decisions of adults, and murmurs that this must be what they call adult circumstances. The next morning, the sun rises over Tuka village. The fence is complete. Lucy stands alone, facing her two old friends across the new fence line, ready to say goodbye. Her voice is quiet but firm as she tells them that this is where they will part ways. Her friends stare back, their faces a mixture of shock and utter disbelief. As she turns to leave, they both run after her, calling out for her to wait. Mighty grabs her arm, refusing to let her go without an explanation. Abel's voice is full of hurt as he demands to know what this is all about, asking her if they weren't comrades. She looks over her shoulder one last time, telling them that their time together is in the past and that they have found a new home here. She says softly that compared to their time in the city, they both look much happier and more relaxed now. And with that, she walks away. With a final decisive sound, Lucy steps up into the wagon, ready to begin a new chapter of her life. As she steps into the wagon, Lucy looks back at her old friends one last time. She tells them that because they have a home now, they must live honestly. Mighty looks heartbroken, pleading with Abel that if she's leaving, then he should go with her. But Abel just watches her go with a stern, sad look on his face. From inside the wagon, Lucy looks down. She tells them softly that unlike them, she has no place to go back to. But they do. This village is their home now. From the side, Yuki watches the two men as their friend leaves. He holds Pochi and thinks to himself that they should use their great strength to protect their hometown. The wagon pulls away, leaving a cloud of dust. Mighty watches it disappear down the road and sighs that their friend is gone. Yeah, Abel says quietly, his eyes still on the road. Abel turns to Mighty, scratching his head with an embarrassed look. He says that the kid, Yuki, saw them at a really shameful moment. Yuki, who is standing nearby, looks a little flustered to have overheard. Abel walks over and gives Yuki a gentle, reassuring pat on the head. He looks down at the boy with a kind expression. It's fine, he says, letting Yuki know that he understands everything. A new determination fills both men. Abel smiles and says that all they can do now is work hard, so that the next time they meet their friend, they can all be together again as proud comrades. Mighty agrees with a smile. He decides that after breakfast, they will get right back to work on the traps. Yuki and Pochi stand nearby, ready to help. Let's go too, Yuki says, ready for another day of work. Pochi looks up at him and gives an enthusiastic bark. Just as they are about to start, a familiar voice calls out. It's Akino, waving as she runs towards them. Yuki! Finally, I found you! She exclaims. Yuki happily greets Akino and Peter, but he immediately notices that they both look tired and very worried. Peter says that while it is a good morning, the news is terrible. Akino's face is pale with panic. Sakura is missing, she shouts, her voice trembling. Yuki's heart drops. What? He exclaims, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Akino explains frantically that they shared a room at the inn. When she woke up, Sakura was already gone, and she just thought she had started her day early. Her worry grows as she continues. She tells Yuki that her father, Peter, found Sakura's special staff left all alone behind the inn. Peter holds up the staff with a grim expression. He says that it is far too important for Sakura to have just left it behind. They have searched everywhere, but she is nowhere to be found. Akino worries that Sakura is such a serious person she would never just abandon a job. Peter adds his own fear, that she might have been attacked by a monster during the night. The terrible news sinks in for Yuki. He stands frozen, whispering, Miss Sakura is missing. Pochi senses his master's distress and looks up with concern. A cold feeling of dread washes over Yuki. I've got a really bad feeling about this, he says, a knot of worry tightening in his chest. The world seems to spin as the story flashes back in time. A few hours earlier, in the quiet dawn, Sakura is outside the village inn, washing her face. She yawns, thinking that she woke up much earlier than usual and is still very sleepy. She gently pats her cheeks, trying to wake herself up and get ready for the day ahead. Filled with renewed spirit, she pumps her fist. She tells herself that for the sake of the kind people of Tuka village, she will work hard again today. Suddenly, a sound makes her turn around, her heart jumping with surprise. Her eyes widen. A tall, imposing figure stands in the shadows. Who might you be? She asks timidly. A large man in full armor steps forward. He asks if she is the apprentice from the Museon Church. Sakura nods and introduces herself. Sakura's face brightens. She assumes this must be the official monster hunter sent to help. She eagerly offers to introduce him to the villagers. But the man's voice is cold and hard. No, he growls. That won't be necessary. What? Sakura asks, completely confused by his strange and hostile attitude. Before she can react, the man strikes, landing a heavy punch right in her stomach. The force of the blow knocks the staff from her hands, and it clatters onto the dusty ground. The armored man sneers down at her. He calls her a self-righteous apprentice who meddled where she didn't belong. stirring up monsters and causing chaos. Sakura lies on the ground, tears of pain and fear streaming down her face. The man looms over her. "Sorry," he says without any feeling, "but I was handed this script from my employer." He effortlessly lifts her onto his shoulder. As darkness starts to creep in, Sakura's last conscious thought is a desperate whisper of Yuki's name. The mysterious man carries her away from the village. Her last faint plea for help is a weak whisper into the morning air. Back in the present, Akino is running through the village streets, calling out for her missing friend. Pochi's nose is to the ground, sniffing intently as he tries to find a trail. Yuki kneels beside his loyal companion. "Pochi, can you smell?" "Sakura's scent," he asks urgently. Pochi looks up and barks, confirming he has the trail. The search party spreads out, their worried voices calling Sakura's name across the fields. Suddenly, Mighty stops and looks toward the mountains in the distance. He's spotted something strange. He sees a thin line of smoke rising into the sky. Abel asks him if he's found something. The smoke begins to billow, growing thicker and darker. "No way," Mighty whispers, a sense of dread growing. Panic spreads through the group as they all spot the smoke. "Oh no, smoke is coming from the mountain," someone shouts. "It's a forest fire." But Yuki stares at the smoke with a look of pure horror. He knows this isn't a normal fire. "No, I know that color of smoke," he says, his voice trembling. He remembers a lesson from long ago. His mother, Lucy, taught him that a special kind of smoke can be used to drive monsters out of their dens. But Lucy's most important warning echoes in his mind. Never, ever, do it near a human settlement. "It's a flushing smoke," he gasps in realization. Yuki turns to the others, his face pale with terror. "They're driving the monsters down from the mountain," he shouts. "The monsters will come down into the village." Abel roars in frustration, asking what idiot would set off a flushing smoke so close to a village. Yuki points towards the mountain, shouting that it doesn't matter who did it. The monsters are coming, and they'll be there soon. As the men run to prepare, Mighty asks if they can at least try to reinforce the fences and traps they just built. Akino agrees, saying that it's a lot better than doing nothing at all. Peter takes command of the evacuation, his voice calm but firm. He instructs everyone to stay calm and move to the far side of the village, yelling for the children to be evacuated first. Abel rallies the remaining men. Holding up his sturdy pole, he declares that they will stand their ground and buy enough time for everyone else to escape safely. The men shout their agreement. The brave villagers stand ready, armed with farming tools and sheer determination. They form a line of defense, a simple but courageous barrier between the monsters and their families. Yuki watches them, his heart clenching with worry. He wishes his master, Lucy, were here. Her skill and bravery would make all the difference right now. He closes his eyes for a second, gathering his courage. He has to do something. Suddenly, Pochi lets out an excited bark, nudging his master. "Pochi?" Yuki asks, surprised by his companion's sudden energy. Yuki's eyes go wide. He feels a strange sensation, like a voice flowing directly into his head. He looks down at his small wolf friend, who is looking up at him with intelligent, knowing eyes. He hears a question in his mind, clear as day. "Can I use my full power?" Yuki stares in wonder. He realizes with a shock that this isn't just a feeling. He is actually hearing Pochi's voice in his thoughts. With a new sense of hope, Yuki looks at his friend. "Of course," he says, his voice full of trust. "Please, Pochi." Pochi stands proudly as a brilliant light begins to radiate from his small body. Yuki shields his eyes as the light intensifies, filling the air with a powerful, ancient energy. In a flash, the small, cute fox transforms. Where he stood, there is now a magnificent giant white wolf, the true form of the legendary Fenrir. Tiny sparkles of light drift down from the transformed Pochi, and Yuki stares up at his friend in awe. With a gentle nudge, the giant wolf lifts Yuki onto his back. "Whoa!" Yuki yelps as Pochi tosses him playfully into the air before settling him securely on his broad, furry back. Pochi turns his massive head to look at his master, asking if he wants him to hold on. Yuki gives an excited nod. Pochi lifts his head to the sky and lets out a mighty howl. Just as the first of the red-tusked boars crashes through the trees, the villagers brace themselves, shouting, "Everyone get ready!" Pochi's howl echoes across the valley, a powerful, commanding sound that travels through the forest. In response to the howl, the forest floor seems to come alive. 3 sleek black wolves with glowing eyes emerge from the woods, answering their king's call. Yuki looks on, confused. He hadn't expected more wolves to show up. But just as the villagers are panicking about the new arrivals, another group of monsters is spotted approaching from the other side of the village. "It's black wolves!" a villager cries out. It seems disaster is coming from all sides. The villagers ready their makeshift weapons, sling themselves for an impossible fight. "Here they come!" one of them shouts. But instead of attacking the village, the pack of black wolves charges straight past them, heading for the approaching red-tusk boars. The villagers stays back. Yuki looks down at the incredible scene. "Pochi, is that you?" he asks, realizing his friend commanded this. Pochi gives a happy bark in response. Abel stares at the boy and his giant wolf in disbelief. "Kid, are you a monster tamer?" he asks. Yuki just says that it's not exactly like that. Yuki leans forward, hugging his friend's warm fur. He feels safe and incredibly proud. He looks into Pochi's wise eyes. "Pochi, you'll take me to Miss Sakura?" he asks. Pochi barks his determined agreement. Yuki hesitates, looking back at the village. But Peter calls out, reassuring him that thanks to Pochi's wolf pack, they will be perfectly fine. Abel holds his hammer high and tells Yuki to leave the village to them. "Go find the apprentice girl," Mighty shouts in support. With a grateful smile, Yuki waves to his friends. "Okay," he calls out. "I'm going." Pochi's powerful paws dig into the earth as he prepares to run. In a single, incredible leap, Pochi launches them into the air, clearing the fences and the heads of the stunned villagers below. "Whoa, so fast! So fast!" Yuki yells, his eyes swirling with dizziness as the world streaks past him in a blur. Pochi runs with breathtaking speed, a white streak of lightning dashing through the fields. As they race towards the mountains, Yuki asks if this is the right way to find Sakura. Pochi's confident bark is all the answer he needs. Holding on tight, Yuki's heart is filled with a single urgent thought. "Please be safe, Miss Sakura." They plunge into the deep, dark forest, leaving the village far behind. After some time, Pochi's pace begins to slow. Yuki pats his friend gently and asks if he's okay. Yuki realizes the problem. The thick, acrid smoke from the flushing fire is getting stronger, and even he can smell it now. He worries that it might be too much, even for a powerful creature like Pochi. Pochi stops and nudges his head in a specific direction. "Miss Sakura's over there?" Yuki asks, understanding immediately. He slides off Pochi's back. "Thanks, Pochi. Wait over here," he says, giving his friend a grateful pat before running ahead into the woods alone. Deep in the forest, Pochi, now back in his small, fox-like form, waits patiently for his master's return, just as he was told. Meanwhile, Yuki pushes deeper into the smoky woods, his small voice echoing as he calls out, "Miss Sakura, where are you?" He hears a faint groan from behind a thick tree and immediately moves toward the sound, his heart pounding with worry. He pushes aside some low-hanging branches, his eyes scanning the small clearing ahead. And there she is. In a patch of sunlit grass, he finds Sakura, lying unconscious on the ground. A wave of relief washes over him. He found her. Yuki rushes to her side, gently shaking her shoulder. "Miss Sakura!" he cries out. "Are you all right? Hang in there." As he tends to his friend, a sudden sound makes him whip his head around, his body tense with alarm. Stepping out from behind the trees are 3 men in armor. Their leader looks down at Yuki with a scowl, asking what a little kid is doing out here all alone. Yuki stays protectively by Sakura's side. He tells them she's his friend, but a cold feeling tells him that these men are bad news. The men begin to laugh cruelly. The leader mockingly says it's cute that he came all this way just to find the apprentice. The man's smile vanishes, replaced by a menacing glare. He tells Yuki it's too bad he found them, because now he's going to have to take a nap, just like his friend. He throws a punch, but to his utter shock, Yuki reacts with impossible speed, blocking the man's fist with his small hand. The force of the block sends the large man stumbling backward, completely stunned that a mere child could possess such strength. Without wasting a moment, Yuki launches into a spinning kick, taking another of the men by surprise. "What's with this kid?" the soldier yells in disbelief. The leader shouts at his men to grab the boy, but Yuki is too fast. He gracefully leaps and bounces off their heads and shoulders, a small, unstoppable blur of motion. He moves like a whirlwind, weaving between the clumsy soldiers and knocking them down one by one with swift, precise strikes. With the underlings taken care of, Yuki wastes no time. He carefully lifts Sakura's unconscious form. He puts her over his shoulder, apologizing softly for having to carry her so roughly. One of the dazed soldiers looks up from the ground, groaning in confusion as he watches the little boy carry the young woman away. But Yuki freezes in place. His eyes are wide with a sudden, paralyzing fear. Blocking his path is the man from before, the powerful, armored warrior who first attacked Sakura. His presence is terrifying, and he stares down at Yuki, demanding to know what is going on. Yuki knows he is in serious trouble. This is bad, he thinks, his heart racing. This is really, really bad. There's no time to think. He turns and bolts, running as fast as he can. Pochi joins him, and together they race through the forest. Yuki's mind is screaming one thing. They have to run for their lives. The armored man simply sighs, looking more annoyed than concerned by their escape attempt. The quiet forest seems to hold its breath as the chase begins. Yuki struggles under Sakura's weight, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He starts to wonder if they can possibly get away. In a flash, the man appears right in front of them. He casually trips Yuki with his scabbard, taunting him for not paying attention. Yuki and Sakura fall to the ground in a heap. The man stands over him, looking unimpressed. He admits he's impressed that Yuki handled his men, but says he has a job to finish and will be taking the girl. Yuki struggles back to his feet, placing himself between the man and Sakura. He says that he doesn't care what the man wants. Sakura is his friend. With a courage far beyond his years, he takes a fighting stance and shouts, "I won't let you take her!" The man sighs, rubbing his forehead as if he's losing his patience. "You're just a brat, but you're an interesting one," the man growls. "I guess I'll just have to put you to sleep right here." He raises his heavy, gauntleted fist. Yuki clenches his eyes shut, bracing for the powerful blow. He opens them again, his expression still full of defiance, ready to face the end. But the hit never comes. The man's fist is stopped in midair, caught by another hand. The armored man's eyes widen in disbelief. He cannot believe who has just appeared. Yuki looks up, his own face a mask of shock and overwhelming relief. "It's Lucy!" She stands there, effortlessly holding back the man's attack. She looks at him with cold eyes and says, "Looks like you're the one making all the fuss, huh?" From another angle, we see her confident arrival. She looks down at Yuki and remarks that he's really making a splash. "Master!" Yuki cries out, his voice filled with pure joy and relief. Lucy's gaze is locked on the man, her expression deadly serious. The armored man is speechless, stammering in shock. He recognizes her, his voice full of disbelief. "Lucy, why are you here?" They face off in the tense silence of the forest. Lucy simply says his name. "Granadas." The name hits Yuki like a physical blow. Granadas, the legendary hero. His world is turned completely upside down. Lucy glares at Granadas, disgusted that he would attack a child. As he processes what's happening, Yuki has another, even bigger realization. If her last name is also Granadas, my master, Lucy Granadas. Lucy's eyes narrow. She tells Granadas that since he laid a hand on her precious student, that means she can't just let him go. Yuki's mind explodes with the revelation. Hearts appear in his eyes as he pictures his very own master as the legendary hero everyone admires. My master is the legendary hero Granadas, he thinks, completely starstruck. While Yuki is still reeling from the incredible news, Lucy steps between him and Granadas. She says calmly, "It's dangerous. Step back a bit with the girl." Yuki's mind is still spinning. "No way! I was raised by someone that amazing?" Snapping out of his starstruck daze, Yuki nods obediently. "Okay," he says, carefully helping the still unconscious Sakura. As Yuki gently moves his friend to a safe distance, Lucy keeps her sharp eyes locked on her opponent, her focus absolute. Lucy addresses the armored man by a different name. "Brooks," she says, her voice laced with disappointment. "You haven't changed." She tells him that despite his grand title of mercenary king, he's just a man trying too hard to seem important. The man, Brooks, glares at her, his pride wounded. He shouts back that he is strong, that he survived the brutal war against the Demon King and clawed his way to the top. Lucy looks down, a deep sadness in her eyes. "No, that's wrong," she says softly. A painful memory flashes in her mind of heroes fighting a fearsome dragon. She explains that the truly strong ones were the ones who died in that war. In an instant, she draws her sword, her body coiled and ready for battle. The memory continues, showing the terrible aftermath of a battle, with a giant beast lying defeated on the ground. A younger Lucy, her face bruised and dirty, remembers the cost of that victory. "They all did," she whispers, the memory of her fallen friends still haunting her. She remembers standing on a desolate hill, surrounded by the few survivors, looking out at a world saved, but at a terrible price. Back in the present, Lucy's face is hard as stone. She tells Brooks that she has heard the rumors about him and his men. She accuses him of using his power not to help, but to intimidate people, hunting monsters, only to squeeze rewards out of those he's supposed to protect. Her gaze shifts for a moment to where Yuki is protecting Sakura. She asks Brooks what kind of dirty job he took this time, getting paid to attack a helpless apprentice of the Musion Order. Brooks is shocked that she knows so much. His shock turns to rage. "Shut up!" he roars. He calls her a washed-up retiree who is hiding from the world and tells her to stay out of his way. He grits his teeth, his eyes burning with ambition. He declares that after all this time, his era has finally begun. He raises his massive broadsword, preparing to attack. "You!" he screams, charging at Lucy. "Just stay lurking in the back where you belong." Lucy watches his clumsy, rage-fueled attack with calm, focused eyes. She moves in a flash, a blur of motion too fast for the eye to follow. She draws a small, sharp dagger, her movements fluid and precise. The clash of steel rings through the forest as she easily parries his heavy blow. Brooks swings his sword again, putting all his strength into it, but Lucy gracefully dodges under the blade. She continues to weave around him, her footwork perfect, never giving him a clear target. As he swings wildly, she sees her opening. In a single powerful motion, she kicks the back of his knee, breaking his stance. She follows up immediately with a punch that lands with a sickening thud. Brooks's eyes are wide with shock and pain. He can't believe how fast she is. The legendary hero collapses to the forest floor, completely defeated. Lucy stands over him, the victor. Lucy straightens up, the fight over in mere seconds. From the edge of the clearing, Yuki stares with wide, amazed eyes. She's strong, he thinks, overwhelmingly so. He remembers seeing her defeat a pack of ice wolves back home and realizes that what he thought was normal was actually the power of a true legend. Brooks groans on the ground, struggling to move. He pushes himself up, his face a mixture of pain and utter humiliation. Lucy looks down at him, her voice cold. She tells him there is no front or back of the stage for a true hero. She asks if taking advantage of the weak is really what he calls strength. With a final dismissive comment, she turns her back on him. "Don't show kids something so pathetic," she says, walking away. She heads back toward her student and his friend. Yuki looks up at her, his voice full of awe and admiration. "Master?" Lucy's fierce expression melts away, replaced by a warm, gentle smile. "Sorry I kept you waiting," she says softly. "Let's go home, Yuki." They leave the forest, stepping back into the bright light of day. Meanwhile, back at the Tuca Village Plaza, the final battle against the red tusk boars is underway. Abel slams his weapon down on a boar with a mighty crash. "That leaves one!" he shouts to the others, his face grim with determination. Mighty runs at full speed, bravely luring the last and largest boar toward the trap. "This one's the last!" he yells. Aquino and Peter run alongside, directing him. "Mr. Mighty, over here!" Aquino calls out. Mighty gets into position, ready to complete their plan. He expertly dodges the boar and runs past Peter, giving him a quick high five. The team, Aquino, Abel, Mighty, and Peter, stands ready, holding the sparkling Evanium net wide. The giant boar charges headfirst into the trap. The net erupts in a blinding flash of light and energy, stopping the monster in its tracks. The team cheers in victory. "Just as planned," Peter exclaims, a proud smile on his face. Lucy's thoughts are clear and simple. "All right, The fight is over. Back in Tuka village, Abel raises his tool in triumph over the last defeated boar. "Red tusk boar subjugation complete," he roars. As the villagers cheer, Yuki's voice calls out, "Hey!" Yuki, Lucy, and Pochi walk towards the village. Yuki waves enthusiastically, shouting, "We're back, everyone!" The villagers, led by a relieved Abel and Mighty, rush to meet them. "Kid, and you too, miss," Abel calls out. "Are you safe?" Lucy gently carries the sleeping Sakura on her back. Yuki beams with pride and happily announces, "My master came to save us!" Abel scratches his head, looking completely baffled. "Master?" he repeats, not understanding. But Peter's eyes go wide with shock and recognition. A blush of awe creeps onto his face as he exclaims, "Wait, Captain Granada's!" A wave of stunned silence falls over the villagers. Abel, Mighty, and even Aquino stare with their mouths open, unable to believe what they just heard. Lucy stands with her precious students. A legendary figure returned. A villager finally breaks the silence, whispering in an awestruck voice, "The great hero." That night, the village is filled with the sounds of joy and the delicious smell of roasting meat. The defeated red tusk boar is now the main course for a grand victory feast. Everyone gathers around a massive, roaring bonfire. The hard work and terror of the day have been replaced with warmth, laughter, and a strong sense of community. Wooden mugs filled with celebratory drinks are raised high and clinked together in a cheerful toast. It's time to celebrate their hard-won victory. Yuki sits beside a now-awake Sakura. She is safe and sound, looking at him with immense gratitude. Sakura tells him that he is truly her benefactor, to be saved not only by him but also by the legendary hero Granadas. She says she doesn't know how she can ever thank them enough. Yuki just smiles, happy to see his friend safe. He tells her that the most important thing is that she's okay. Pochi, sitting beside him, lets out a supportive bark. They sit together by the fire, two friends brought together by adventure, enjoying the peaceful, sparkling night. Aquino approaches them with a big, cheerful grin. "Hey, little ones," she calls out. "It's finished roasting." She presents a magnificent, whole-roasted red tusk boar, telling them there's plenty for everyone to eat as much as they want. Yuki and Sakura's eyes light up, their mouths watering at the incredible sight of the feast before them. They dig in, happily munching on large, juicy pieces of meat. Pochi also gets his own share, enjoying the tasty reward. Yuki takes a huge bite of the perfectly browned, tender meat, the juices overflowing with flavor. They both agree that it's absolutely delicious, though they wish it had just a little more salt. As he eats, Yuki can't help but daydream about the rich, sweet, and spicy flavors he remembers from his past life. Later, as they look up at the brilliant, starry sky, Yuki's resolve is stronger than ever. He hopes that as he works to cleanse the world of miasma, he'll be able to taste those wonderful flavors again one day. Across the fire, the two old heroes, Peter and Lucy, sit together and share a drink, catching up after so many years apart. Peter laughs heartily, proudly asking Lucy what she thinks of his daughter, Aquino. He jokes that she's almost too good for him. Lucy smiles and agrees, saying Aquino is just like Peter was in his younger days and seems to be blessed with good fortune. She predicts that Aquino will do great things, perhaps even discovering a new mine and helping to build a new town. The praise makes the tough mine lord blush with fatherly pride. Peter shakes his head modestly, saying he's just lucky. He insists that their success this time was all because of that amazing prodigy, Yuki. Lucy admits that even she is surprised by how much her young student has grown and accomplished. Peter reflects on how quickly children grow up, remembering when Aquino was small. He thinks about how Yuki was just a baby not long ago, and now he's already becoming someone extraordinary. The two old comrades reminisce. Peter says he never imagined he would be sharing a drink with his captain again. Lucy gently reminds him not to call her that, as their squad was disbanded a long time ago. Aquino brings her father another drink, playfully scolding him not to get too carried away. She then asks Yuki for a favor, since she can't bring herself to scold the great hero Granadas. Yuki, ever helpful, approaches with 2 mugs of fresh water for the heroes. He politely offers them the drinks, reminding his master and Peter to stay hydrated. They thank him for his thoughtfulness. Lucy's expression softens. She turns to her student and asks if they can talk for a bit. Yuki is a little surprised by her serious tone, but nods eagerly. In a gentle, motherly gesture, Lucy pulls Yuki onto her lap. She holds him close, looking at him with immense pride. She tells him that in the short time they've been apart, he has grown so much and is doing a splendid job. Yuki blushes at the high praise. He says he doesn't know about splendid, but he is trying his very best. Lucy's smile is warm and full of affection. She says, softly. That's the best thing. She gently strokes his hair, and he leans into her touch with a happy, contented giggle. Her expression becomes serious once more. She warns him that what happened to Sakura could happen again. She gives him a crucial piece of advice. Using his strength to protect someone else is the mark of true strength. She tells him that from now on, when he feels it's necessary, he must not hesitate to fight with his full power. Yuki looks up at his master, understanding the weight and importance of her words. It is a quiet, profound moment between the legendary hero and her young, promising student. With a new fire in his eyes, Yuki gives a firm, determined yes. Lucy smiles, her heart swelling with pride and hope for the boy she raised. Later, with a sleepy Yuki dozing on her lap, she turns back to Peter. She asks him how the investigation into the Museum order is going. Peter looks out at the starry sky, his expression thoughtful. He explains that through their experiences with Sakura, they are finally beginning to understand the dark reality of the Order's tribute system. As the celebration continues, Peter explains to Lucy what his investigation has uncovered. He says the Museum Order's local branch is adding a huge extra fee on top of the official tribute, squeezing outrageous amounts of money from its apprentices and lower-ranked saintesses. Lucy listens, her expression grim as she confirms his suspicions, adding that this branch has a much higher rate of apprentices quitting than any other. Peter sighs, realizing the corruption runs even deeper than they had feared, and Lucy thanks him for his help in uncovering the truth. He smiles warmly, correcting himself as he says he's happy to help his captain, or rather, Lady Lucy, with her important request. Yuki, who has been listening intently, is stunned. He realizes with wide eyes that his master and her friends have been investigating the corrupt Museum order all this time. He looks at the two old heroes with pure, shining admiration, thinking that even among adults, they are truly amazing. Lucy notices his adoring gaze and gives him a playful smile, asking him if he agrees. She then turns to Peter with another idea, asking if she can borrow him for a little while longer for a new plan she has in mind. Lucy explains her bold idea. She wants to go directly to the Museum Order's Twilight branch, bringing Sakura along, and says that Olympia is also very eager to meet Yuki. Trusting his master completely, Yuki nods and agrees to go along with her plan. The night fades into a new day. Soon, they arrive before the grand and imposing building that houses the Museum Order's Twilight branch. As they step inside, they are immediately met with the hostile whispers and stares of the other Saintess trainees. A nervous nun rushes forward, demanding to know what business they have there and why they have brought children with them. Lucy simply strides past, effortlessly carrying both Yuki and Sakura, leaving the trainees staring after her in utter shock. The commotion brings the stern-looking bishop out of his office to see what is happening. With a loud bang, Lucy slams her hand on a nearby desk, making the bishop flinch in surprise at her audacity. They now stand in the center of the vast ornate hall, directly confronting the leader of the corrupt church. With her students by her side, Lucy addresses the man with a calm but firm voice, asking if they might borrow a little of his time. She repeats the request, her tone making it clear that this is not a question, but a direct and unyielding demand. The bishop glares back at them, his face tight with anger and deep suspicion. While the adults talk, Yuki's attention is captured by a beautiful fountain in the center of the hall, and he wonders about its origins. As he gazes into the pure, shimmering water, a strange and comforting feeling of deep nostalgia washes over him. Sakura, feeling incredibly nervous to be back in this place, whispers to Lucy, asking what she is planning to do. Lucy just turns to her with a gentle, reassuring smile. Then, she slams her foot down hard on the stone floor. The fountain instantly erupts with a surge of powerful spiritual energy, shocking the bishop, while Yuki just feels a familiar, sleepy warmth. With the bishop's full attention, Lucy makes her accusation, declaring they have all the evidence and demanding he return the money he stole. The bishop sputters, trying to feign innocence and asking what she could possibly be talking about. A self-righteous look crosses his face as he begins a grand speech, claiming that they are the heirs to the will of the ancient spirits. He tries to shift the blame, claiming the world is filled with miasma only because the arrogant hero Granadas defeated the demon lord. He argues that protecting the city is expensive, and that their actions are justified, even scoffing at the Lord of the Mines, completely unaware he's speaking to him. He concludes his arrogant speech by smugly telling these outsiders to stay out of their affairs. The other trainees begin to gather, whispering that they should call for help to drive out the intruders. Peter watches from the side, a grim look on his face, knowing the situation is about to turn ugly. The bishop smirks, feeling he has won, and asks if they truly believe the Great Spirit would approve of their actions. Lucy looks at him with a cool, unreadable expression and asks, "Oh? The Great Spirit, you say?" The bishop's arrogant smirk remains, completely confident in his position. Lucy turns away from him and speaks directly to the sacred fountain, calling out, "Oh, well, Great Spirit, what do you say?" He can only stare in utter confusion, unable to understand what is happening. In that instant, the fountain explodes in a massive, brilliant torrent of pure, sacred water. Yuki and Pochi are splashed by the familiar water, their eyes wide with wonder at the beautiful sight. The other trainees cover their ears as a beautiful, ethereal sound echoes through the hall. The magical water swirls around the team, protecting them as it fills the room with a glowing, holy mist. From the very heart of the watery explosion, a beautiful, shining figure begins to take form. The trainees gasp, their faces filled with pure shock, unable to believe what they are seeing. Water flows around her feet and through her long, shimmering hair as her divine form solidifies. The figure is revealed to be none other than Olympia, the great spirit of the mountains and Yuki's beloved mother. Now fully materialized and radiating divine power, she looks down at the stunned bishop and declares that to borrow the name of the spirits only to satisfy one's own greed. Her stern gaze meets his as she finishes her judgment, her powerful voice declaring that his actions are supremely lamentable. Yuki watches in awe as the water of the sacred spring forms into the familiar, loving shape of his mother. "It's like magic," he whispers. Before the divine presence, the corrupt bishop falls to his knees in terror. The bishop trembles, his face pale with shock. "The Great Spirit has descended," he stammers, unable to comprehend the sight. Sakura and Akino are equally stunned. Sakura whispers that there hasn't been a sign of a spirit's descent since the end of the Demon Lord War. Olympia floats above the cowering bishop, her expression one of profound disappointment. "Truly, what a shame," she says, her voice echoing with ancient power. Terrified, the bishop presses his face to the floor, begging the Great Spirit for forgiveness. Olympia's gaze softens as she looks towards her followers. She declares that her benevolence should be granted only to the faithful who truly work to make the world a better place. Yuki quietly explains to a confused Sakura that this was all part of the plan. He tells her his master Lucy is explaining that his other mother, Olympia, had simply wanted to see his face. Peter adds to the explanation, telling them he had been worried about the Order's corruption for a while. So, since Olympia was coming anyway, they decided to have her help them deal with it. Sakura looks from the magnificent, awe-inspiring Great Spirit back to her friends, thinking with disbelief, "This is what they call just helping out while they're at it?" But her disbelief quickly turns to overwhelming gratitude. Her eyes sparkle with unshed tears as she realizes that if this is what it takes to save her and the other apprentices, she is eternally thankful. Olympia then gives the bishop a direct order. She tells him to be especially kind to the dear child standing nearby, her beloved one. The bishop looks up, utterly confused. He follows her gaze and sees her looking lovingly at the small boy, Yuki. The realization hits him like a thunderbolt. He begins to panic, stammering, "The Great Spirit's beloved child?" The other trainees gasp and whisper among themselves, stunned by this incredible revelation. Olympia's thoughts are filled with pure love for her son. "Oh yes," she thinks, "most dearly beloved." She then looks kindly at Sakura, noting that it seems she and her child are getting along very well. Her expression turns to ice as she looks back at the bishop. She declares that as for the bad adults who would dare to harm her beloved children, he will receive his punishment from her chosen messenger, Lucy. The bishop tries to protest, but Peter silences him, reminding him that his actions endangered innocent people. Lucy steps forward, placing a firm hand on the bishop's shoulder. She tells him he heard the Great Spirit and that she'll be taking it from here. She also adds that they need to have a talk about his connection to the mercenary, Brooks. Olympia then turns her gentle gaze to Sakura. She asks the young apprentice her name, and Sakura nervously introduces herself. Surrounded by a swirl of glowing petals, Olympia gives Sakura a heartfelt request. She asks the kind young woman to please take good care of her child from now on. Overwhelmed with honor and joy, Sakura eagerly agrees. Sakura is flustered and overjoyed. The Great Spirit herself spoke to her. She looks at Yuki with newfound wonder, thinking that he truly is an amazing person. Moved by the divine presence, all the trainees of the Musean Order bow deeply in unison, promising to follow the Great Spirit's true will from this day forward. Her duty done, Olivia's form begins to fade. She beckons with her hand. Yuki looks on, tilting his head in confusion, not understanding what she wants. Olivia's shimmering hand reaches out and gently, lovingly pats his head. Her face is filled with sadness. She laments that in this spiritual form, she cannot give her son a real hug. Yuki looks up at her, his heart aching as he softly says, "Mom." Unable to hold back her feelings any longer, Olympia bursts into tears, wailing that she's so lonely and wants to see the real Yuki very, very much. As the Great Spirit fades away completely, her heartbroken cries echo from the grand church building, with Lucy calling after her to calm down. Sometime later, back at the quiet Helping Hand shop in Tawano Light, the team finally has a moment to rest. Peter and Akino sit at a table enjoying a cup of tea. Akino smiles, saying that exposing the bishop's crimes was quite satisfying. Lucy joins them, remarking that corrupt people like the bishop haven't changed since the old days. At the table, an exhausted Yuki has fallen asleep. After his nap, Yuki joins the conversation, thinking about everything he's learned. He remarks that out in the world, the legend of Granadas is a very serious and important story. Peter laughs and agrees. He tells Yuki that the stories are true, and that the battle against the Demon Lord, with Lady Lucy's martial arts and Lady Olympia's spirit power, was beyond anything you could imagine. Yuki's mind is filled with wonder. He now lives in a world with a Demon Lord, magical beasts, spirits like his mother, and people with the secret art of healing, like Sakura. He thinks back to his mother's grand appearance at the church. It was so cool and felt like something straight out of a fantasy story. He then remembers how Sakura healed him back at the manor. It was a special technique, a way for a healer to share their own life energy, or mana, with someone else. A thought clicks in his mind. He recalls Sakura telling him that he has mana too. He turns to Peter with a very important question. In this world, he asks with wide, curious eyes, is there magic? Peter and Akino are surprised. Huh? They say in unison, not expecting such a basic question. Peter quickly understands. He tells Yuki that of course there is, though it's usually called sorcery. He realizes that since Yuki grew up isolated in the mountains, he doesn't know many basic things about the world. Peter gives him a simple lesson. He explains that mana is a life energy that everyone possesses. Sorcery is the art of converting that mana to create effects like fire, light, or other phenomena. However, he adds, it requires a huge amount of mana and years of difficult training, so very few people can actually use it. Yuki thinks for a moment, trying to connect this new information. He asks if sorcery is different from the magic stones, the Evanium, that they use in the city. Akino takes over the explanation. She reminds him that Tawanalite became a great city because of the Evanium spirit stones found in the nearby mines. She shows him an Evanium-powered lantern, explaining why the stones are so valuable. The lantern glows with a warm, steady light, and Yuki watches, fascinated. Akino explains that the magic of Evanium is that it allows anyone, even people who can't use sorcery, to create magical effects. Yuki looks at the glowing stone, finally understanding its importance. Peter continues his explanation. He says that in the past sorcerers had plenty of work, but now, with the advancement of Evanium technology, their skills are needed less and less. Most people with mana now either join the Musean Order or the Monster Hunting Guild, so the number of traditional sorcerers is decreasing. Yuki listens intently, a thoughtful expression on his face as he processes this new information about the world. His eyes light up with a new goal. He looks at Peter and asks eagerly, "Then, how? Could I also learn to use sorcery too?" Peter looks at the young boy, a little surprised by his direct and ambitious question. He scratches his head, looking a bit uncertain. He admits that it would be difficult to find a teacher. "If you had a teacher," he says, trailing off as he thinks. Yuki waits with hopeful eyes. Akino suddenly remembers something. "Dad? You mean?" she asks. before Peter himself says that he knows one sorcerer who might be able to help. He tells them about a legendary figure from his past, Lady Rilke, the court sorcerer of the Granada Squad. She was known as the one with the eye that sees the future, and she was the one who predicted the Demon King's arrival centuries ago. Yuki is amazed. Centuries, he gasps. He wonders if she is from one of the long-lived magical races, like an elf. Amazing! Amazing! Yuki exclaims, bouncing in his seat with excitement. Can we meet her? Akino is just as excited. Peter just smiles and says that since they are talking about her, it's very likely. Suddenly, the entire room begins to shake, and the teacups on the table rattle violently. Peter quickly tells a frantic Akino and a startled Yuki to hold on to their cups and stay calm. A brilliant, magical light fills the room, and a complex, glowing circle appears on the surface of their table. She senses the powerful magic and gets into a defensive stance, growling at the strange phenomenon. Peter explains that the table was a gift from Lady Rilke herself when he first opened his shop. Yuki leans closer, realizing with a start that the table has some kind of special magical mechanism built into it. In a flash of light, a ghostly image appears from the table. The severed head of a young girl with long, curly pigtails. Yuki and Akino scream in absolute terror at the horrifying sight. She growls, ready to attack. The girl's head falls onto the table with a soft thud. Akino hides behind her father, wailing about how scary it is, while the girl just groans. What is that? A moment later, the girl's head pops up from behind the table, a cheerful smile on her face. Hey there, she says happily. That's a good reaction, kids. Yuki is still trembling with fear, and Akino is crying in her father's arms, completely traumatized by the frightening prank. Peter greets the girl warmly. Lady Rilke, it's been a while, he says with a calm smile. The magical girl, Lady Rilke, floats gracefully into a chair, her elaborate dress and hair swirling around her with sparkling flowers. Peter gently scolds her, asking her not to frighten his kids too much. Rilke just giggles and apologizes, saying she wanted to make a big impact on the traveler from another world. Curious, Yuki reaches out and gently touches her leg. A maiden's leg. I can touch her, he whispers, completely mesmerized. Rilke asks what he's doing so suddenly. She winks playfully. Surprised? She asks. She explains that she is both here and not here at the same time. She tells him that the fact he can feel her magical projection is proof of the immense magic power he possesses himself. She sits down properly, looking at him with knowing eyes. You're the boy who wishes to learn sorcery, right? She asks. Yuki, still a bit stunned, can only manage a weak, thank you? Lady Rilke assesses him. She declares that his mana is vast and his soul and mind are strong. She asks what it is that he wants to accomplish. She gently taps his forehead, peering into his mind and memories. Ha, I see, she says, impressed. She finds his worries and goals fascinating and declares that he will be a student worth forging into a great sorcerer. With a mischievous smile, she asks him, in that case, how about this kind of sorcery? She places her hands on the table, and another magical circle appears, glowing with a different kind of power. In a flash of light, a plastic bottle appears on the table. Yuki's eyes go wide with shock and recognition. It's a bottle of soy sauce from his old world, Japan. Soy sauce! Soy sauce! He shouts, his heart filled with a joy he hasn't felt in a long time. Rilke smiles, explaining that her magic can call forth things from other worlds. She looks at him seriously, explaining that he has a prodigious gift. His imagination and memories are strong enough to sustain this kind of materialization magic. Her eyes seem to look right through him. She tells him frankly that even with his gifts, it will be difficult to achieve his goals as he is now. She offers him a choice. But if, for that dream, she says, holding out her hand, you wish to learn sorcery, Yuki looks at her, then at the bottle of soy sauce that represents a bridge between his two lives. In the background, he imagines a grand building, a symbol of the future he could build. He begins. Rilke gives him a challenging smile. We'll be waiting there, boy, she finishes, pointing toward the magnificent building in his vision, a place where his training could begin.